Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I didn't realize it. It is 95 degrees out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I thought it was going to be 80 something. So it's definitely a blast. I didn't think it was going to be like this, but we do get those days. I was excited today because I had one of my channeling friends with the group that I channel with. That's an international group. Uh, his name is Ray Heitman, and I had the pleasure of meeting with him today at around, I guess, 10 o'clock or so, and was able to have a early lunch. And I invited my good friend Lauren, and she and I were sitting down having a blast with Mr. Ray Heitman. He's on his way. He should be there now in Sedona, Arizona, because he's participating in a SETH conference. He channels all types of beings, including hybrid children. And I do a few of that myself sometimes. I'm not as active as I should be. I like doing it like once a month. Anyway, I'm Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. I'm the founder of the Circle of Grace One. The Circle of Grace One was founded on July 2nd, 1974, out there back east on Long Island in New York. And I have been doing this work for a long time, anything that's metaphysical and spiritual in terms of teaching various topics. I've done over 40 some odd topics since all of that time. I've been a numerologist since 1974. I've been a practitioner and teacher of meditation since 1974. In 1979, I began teaching numerology at the old Tree of Life bookstore. If I just say I'm sweating, our air conditioning units are not working properly out here. So I do have a glass of water to sip on every now and then to keep myself hydrated. Well, tonight's topic was really about how to, let's see who we have here. Okay, my chat is working. So, one of the things is I want to talk a little bit about numerology. And many of you may know I've written my own book called The Key to Life is Numerology. I have over 7 books right now. That's book number 6. My very first book that I wrote was called Decree. Excuse me, I'm getting old. My very first book is this one here, Dancing in the Light of Divine Grace. I originally wrote it in 2004, but I didn't get it published properly until 2017. And then through the help of some friends, I got the manuscript uploaded in May of 2018 into Amazon. So you can get all my books on Amazon. You just look under the name Francis E. Revels-Bey, and you'll find all the books there. Have 2 channeled books, The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am, and The Gift, which is the wisdom of Nefertiti as I am. I also have a book on selenite, which is the age of remembrance, the divine I am presence in selenite. I also have Decree and It Shall Be, which talks about how to use affirmations, prayers, and I'm talking about what you find in the Bible or Quran. I'm talking about prayers that come from your own heart. And then affirmative prayers. Also speak about meditation in there as well as decrees. And so I have all of this to offer to the world. Mainly, a lot of this is I'm not striving to be the bestseller. I'm just getting this material that's within me out for the public, for people who are seeking and looking for it. My 7th book, which I'm teaching a lot of classes from now, is called this one here, Radiant Heart: 7 Amazing Pathways to Connect, Activate, and Communicate with Your Higher Self. I'm feeling that's very important. Everybody is basically doing it or looking at it, but I know that I've been teaching it through my own creative pathwork meditation systems. So a lot of people find the opportunity to get involved on that level. Now I've already have taught a course for 8 weeks. Um, when I started it on June, I believe it was June the 3rd, actually further back. I had a course that I started in, I believe, in the month of March or May, and it was called Meeting Your Higher Self and how to go about doing that. In fact, I have the time in which I started it. Will I teach it again? Perhaps, yes, I'll bring it out again. Um, yeah, I taught it Wednesdays, March 25th through May 20th, Meeting Your Higher Self. And it was all about what is the higher self, how to be in touch with your higher self, and then start blending into it. Now, and I'm not really taking on too many more students. I just started last night, Tuesday night, for 8 weeks with Creative Pathwork Meditation Series. And it's about what it is and how does it work. Where can you utilize it in your own life? I'm going to talk next week, next Tuesday, about guided or silent. It's a matter of discipline, and so on and so forth. And then uh, right around June the 30th, I'm going to drop in and start teaching the five flames. The five flames are the white flame, the golden yellow flame, the pink flame, the violet flame, and the blue flame. And these are all rays of light. And when I talk about the violet flame, I'm not talking about Saint Germain. I'm not coming from that angle. Now, all of these techniques and methods have been time tested for quite some time, and I do utilize them. Hey, who's this? Thank you. I love you too, whoever you are. So I'm striving to put forth a lot of information. I used to be pretty active as a guest on Lloyd Strayhorn. Many of you might know him. He's an internationally well known astro numerologist, and Lloyd has been my friend since December 7th, 1978, when I first met him at the Tree of Life bookstore up in Harlem. So, New York City, New York. And that's how we got started together. I was blessed to be able to teach, I think, two summer classes, three summer classes in a row at the Tree of Life bookstore. I started in the spring or summer of 1979. I taught for about 8 weeks. And then one little Kanya, who was the owner of that, asked me to come back and teach again because I had a pretty big class. And then it's just started rolling. And then eventually, Brother Lloyd Strayhorn invited me to be his very first guest when he was on WLIB 1190 AM. And I was his first live guest. It was a Friday in the month of October of 1982. And he had already been on since 1981. He was doing 3 live shows, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then he would have pre-recorded shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it just took off for him. So I was his. He allowed me, invited me to be his first guest, and eventually we had so much fun. It turned out people were writing into the show, and I remember one time leaving out of there in my book bag something like 50, 60 letters where people were writing to me in care of Lloyd asking more information. So it got to be such a hot topic having me on that over a 7 year stretch, Lloyd had me on many times, and I was on for about 24 guest spot experiences. There was one time he asked me to come in and sit in for him. I didn't have license to do it, but he was able to work something out with Percy Sutton and another guy that was kind of uh, David Lampel was his name, and not many people got along with Mr. Lampel, but Lloyd was able to work it out where okay, David was the host, and I was the guest host because I didn't have a license to be on the air back then, and I still don't have one. But I had the fun. I did 2 days in a row. First day we talked about handwriting analysis, and the second day I was on, we talked about the use of dreams. So I had a really great time, and then many years went by, and Lloyd was on public TV programs that he had, and I was able to be first and last guest on that as well. And then we got really busy. I was teaching a lot all over New York City. When I mean that, in Manhattan, different parts of Manhattan. I was also teaching up in the Bronx, invited there. I was invited into Brooklyn. And this is before I knew anything about the shop that he talks about, Nicholas, on Nicholas Avenue there, that bookshop. I don't remember if I taught there, but I had the privilege of being in many different locations. And then, of course, Long Island decided, hey, you need to be out here teaching. I started teaching on Long Island numerology courses, meditation courses. I also was fortunate to meet a lot of interesting people that helped me do my own Saturday seminars 3 or 4 times a year at the Long Island Marriott Hotel back in those days. And then things stretched, and I taught in Rockville Center at a place called Instant Karma. And then I just started going, and then eventually I was working um, one summer, several summers, I should say. I was working with several friends, and we were at the Renaissance Festival up in Sterling Forest, up in New York, and just out not too far from Monticello, where we were at. And you'd go every Saturday and Sunday. You had a tent or a booth, and so we were doing a lot of readings. And then eventually, I met someone that I did a very good reading for, and she went back to the store that she was affiliated, called the Wise Man's Bookstore in Wayne, New Jersey, and that was back in 1997. And so the owner decided to give me a call to see if he could get me there. And the unique thing was, my message was, greetings. I'm in conference with angels and wise men at the moment, at the sound of the beat, so on and so forth. When he heard me say that, he figured, okay, I'm meant to be there because I mentioned the word wise man and angels. And his shop was called the Wise Man's Bookstore and Metaphysical Center. And I went there in 1997. It was in November. Such a great pulling for the month of November on a lot of Fridays, going up to the Friday after Thanksgiving, that I became a permanent fixture, where I was there on Friday nights teaching my guided meditations. I was doing readings there, and every second Saturday, I would do workshops and readings as well. And I stayed with that store 10 years, I believe. I believe it was from 1997, yeah, for 10 years up to 2007. Only missed 6 times. And I was traveling back and forth in the beginning, traveling back and forth from Long Island, taking the train, Long Island train, all the way into Manhattan, taking the subway up to on the west side to the Port Authority, and jumping on a bus and riding out there to that location. And he moved that location twice. I was able to get to those the second and the third location that he had to move to. Very interesting time frame for myself. Eventually, I relocated off of Long Island and arrived in New Jersey in 2005, which made it a heck of a lot better for me. I was living in Newark's Ironbound district. That's like the United Nations. Everybody, South America is in there. People from the Caribbean islands were in there. A lot of professors from Ghana and Nigeria who were living in the United States and teaching there. Also had a lot of other individuals, Polish community, the Jewish community. We did eventually see a small indigenous communities that were in there. And so we had a great time, and I did. And then eventually I moved to Patterson, then Patterson to Hicksville, and then I came out here. My late mother predicted that I would be here before she passed away. Told me this Albuquerque, New Mexico region is my real home. And I've been here ever since. I've been here since November 15th, my late dad's birthday, 2011. And people say, well, are you ever going to go back to the East Coast? No. And it was proved to me not to do it. I almost went back just before COVID hit. I was setting everything up, and I'm not a person that likes to fly. I don't feel comfortable in the air. I get a lot of headaches in the air. I feel the pressure very intensely. Plus, when they put that wand on you, I literally can taste the metal flowing through the body. So that's why I don't like to do it. So I came out here one time on the plane round trip in November of 2010, and then I visited a few friends that came with me that time, and I came in March of 2011 looking at apartments and places I might want to stay. That was round trip on the train, and I had a dream about that. you know, can you imagine? I had the dream in 2006 that I was supposed to take a train cross country, and at night in the vision, I could see trees going by, and then I saw these little lights at a distance. Well, on that round trip, the first time coming across from Newark, New Jersey, all the way across DC up to Chicago and down, at one of the routes at night going from DC into Chicago, I saw the trees go by because I was sleeping in coach, right? Everybody's snoring away in coach. Looks so funny because you see passengers with their pajamas on. They really got into it. And the kids, of course, wearing their little bunny slippers, on the train. And here I was doing this, being able to travel and looking at the reflection of the trees in the glass. And then the train slowed down. I saw the little dots, the little lights, and what that was where the oil tankers, the people traveling Midwest, carrying oil to businesses and gas stations, that's where they went. They were hook up, get their gas, load their gas for themselves, and then continue either north, south, east, or west. And that was a great idea. Also, I never knew that Dodge City was actually real. So on that particular ride coming across, one point we were in Idaho. I believe that's where it's located. And some gentleman got on the train. Now, this is the Amtrak, right? When the guy left, he said, "Hey, sir, you want to read the paper?" I said, "Yeah." And what did it say? Dodge City. I said, I was laughing. And he says, "What's funny?" I said, "I used to think this city was fictitious. I used to watch Westerns." He said, "Yeah." What did you hear? I said, "Get out of Dodge." My son said. So it was so funny that there was actually a city in Idaho called Dodge City, Dodge City. And it did have a reputation for shoot 'em up, bang bang during those Western times. So it was a great trip, round trip, and seeing some things. And then once I got here, it was spring break. It was actually the week of my birthday, and I was so excited being here. At that point, I says, "I'm coming back." So here I was on my 49th or 59th birthday looking at all of this, and I said, "Yeah, I got to come back. It's meant for me to be here." And so I came back, made up my mind after my dad came and visited me, my late father, 2 nights in a row. I said, "Okay, okay, okay, I'm going." I don't know where mom is. She usually delivers the message, but I guess you got a chance to deliver that message to me. And he did. And I left on, I believe it was a Sunday, November 13th of 2011. And I arrived 2 days later on his birthday. I left Long Island and Washington, D.C. and Chicago. It was 40 degrees out. When I left out of Newark, it was snowing and raining and sleeting. Got to D.C., it was just cold and sunny. Got to Chicago the next morning, which was on the 14th, November 14th, and it was cloudy and cold and icy. Then, once we came across down, because now I'm on a double decker train, sitting up, coming all the way down, and at some point, I think when we hit into Colorado, it was warm. I mean, very warm. It was like 60 degrees. By the time I arrived on my late father's birthday, and my friends picked me up from the Alvarado train station downtown here in the city of Albuquerque, it was 75 degrees out. Now, all that time from July up until the beginning of November, I was sending 5 boxes twice a week, 5 boxes. Eventually, I got most of my clothes and some books and things that I wanted to go with me, and crystals and gemstones. Got that all to them. They were able to save it at a place, that house that they were renting for themselves and their son. And then I got there and I stayed a few weeks. I found a location to live in, and then the rest was history. And what was so beautiful about that time was the spirit of my mother came to me on the train. Now, this is the last time coming, leaving on in November, coming here, and she said to me, "You're going to meet 3 people that you know from Long Island," and that stuck with me. Then she gave me another message. "Oh, you're going to stay in somebody's house. They're going to want 500, but when you see the condition of the house, you're going to wonder why you accept it. Say, offer that guy $350. That's it." Sure enough, that's the first thing that happened. We went to a Center for Spiritual Living, which was used to be called Science of Mind, and that's where we went. That's following the teachings of Ernest Holmes. We went there on a Thanksgiving, and I met this guy the week before that, an elder gentleman, and he needed someone to stay. He wanted to rent a room, and sure enough, out of his mouth was $500. I'm saying, well, all I got is 350 right now because I'm just arriving. I don't have that much money to work with. And he just, okay, I'll take 350. Fine. I stayed with him all the way up until I moved into his place the first Saturday after New Year's of 2012. And I moved out of his place 5 years later in February of 2017. Got together with some other friends that I met during this whole time I was out here and teaching, and they became very good friends of mine. In fact, they're the ones that helped me get this very first book published just like I wanted it, with the colors and everything. They helped me. That was the Pedroncellis. They don't live far from me now. And then I found the senior complex to be in, which was like a half a mile up the road and around the corner from them. So all these things were great. And my late mother had said, do not return to Long Island. If you do, you're not going to get back. You'll something's going to happen. You won't make it back. And I remembered that. What happened? The weekend or month I was supposed to go, I changed my mind and I didn't get a ticket. COVID hit. COVID was wiping out people up and down the East Coast, all over the United States. I had some friends from high school, friends from college that lost their battle to COVID. If I had returned, would have been stuck there for about a year or two, and would have lost my residence here, where I am presently right now. So it was a good thing that I didn't do that. The three people that I met, three women. One, Reverend Rhonda. I won't use well, if you ever meet her last name is Chowdhury. Beautiful Asiatic sister who does Wicca. So she's a goddess of Wicca. She's very, very good at what she does. She also, as I understand, does animal communication. And so can talk to your animals, can pick up on their energy. So I met her, and I was at a place called White Horse one Friday night in 2012, and they had psychic fairs every first Friday. So I was there, met her, but I said, she looks very familiar. So when I started to teach tarot there in the spring of 2012, teaching tarot class, I taught some pendulum classes, but the tarot class took off. And after one of the classes, it hit me. I said, Rhonda, can I talk to you for a minute? She was doing readings in the back. I'm teaching the class. I said, I remember you. She said, where? I said, Hempstead Religious Store, Hempstead, Long Island, New York, 214 Fulton Avenue. I used to dress a box of candles for you once a month. She said, that's it. That I knew her way back then. Now, what year is that? That was from 1987, 1988, all the way up to 1994. So she was working across the street in an office, a business office across the street from where I was in there. And that place, it was given that name, it was run by two Jewish fellows who were trying to make money off of having a Santeria shop. They had no clue what they were doing. Just someone told them to stick it there because in there are people with living in apartments in different locations, and they're going to spend their money getting candles. Well, they did, but they got hip to them too because sometimes those fellas would change the products. One of the things that was very bad that they changed was the floor washers. And one of the floor washers they messed up was Cresso. If you're familiar with Cresso, a lot of people use Cresso in their houses, especially if they have, it smells like it has turpentine in it and a few other things. And what it does is it knocks out the vibration, any negative vibrations in your house. And so people were putting it on their tile floors and they were noticing that the Cresso was not, hey, brother, how you doing? The Cresso, they noticed, was not doing what it's supposed to do. So what they were doing was people would buy the Cresso instead of the gallon jugs, because the gallon jugs was a lot of money back in those days, 1980s, 1970s. People were paying $25 a gallon for Cresso. These guys were cutting the Cresso. They didn't know what they were doing. They would buy a couple of gallons. Then they would buy a 16-ounce or 24-ounce bottles, and they would put half Cresso in it or one-third Cresso, and then they started adding other stuff. And one day, someone bought the stuff, took it home, uncapped it, and realized they just paid $12 for 24 ounces or 16-ounce glass of somebody messing with Cresso. So people started coming back and, they tried to bring it on me. I said, I'm not the one in there cutting. You're cutting. I don't even know how to cut it. And even if I knew, I wouldn't cut it. Certain groups of people use Cresso and you're messing with it. Same with other floor washers. They didn't care. Incenses. They get their own incenses and have their own labels, not really caring. Only thing they couldn't mess with was candles, but they tried that too. And I remember I started teaching classes. I was the first guy, man or woman, that taught tarot classes, numerology classes, and especially meditation classes. Yep. Out of a little tiny room that couldn't have been any more than about 6 by 8 or less. And in front of me was these guys in there cutting the products. They didn't think people would realize that they're in there cutting the stuff. But I would be there in my pink chair and have my little blackboard that I purchased, and I'd be teaching 4 or 5 people at a time. And so many of the people I taught way back then in the late 80s opened up their own stores because that they wanted to open the stores, but they wanted to be tarot readers or numerology readers. And so I taught them how to interpret dreams. Many of those people were my students. They've passed on by now because they were a little older than me, but I was a little bolder at that time. So, as to say all of this is, who else did I meet? There was a woman by the name of Susan Zumo who still lives here in a nice location. She does a lot of channeling herself of higher guides. She learned a system called PAT, Perception Awareness Technique, which is pretty much being able to read you, having your perception, her perception, and her awareness of your energy and how to read your auric field. She's a very good teacher at that. I think she's charging like $700 for like a whole weekend deal, but people would come out learning how to do it. I met her on Long Island at a very good friend's house by the name of Hector Almonte. Hector is a Rosicrucian. Hector is a master of sound with his voice and chanting mantras. And he does well out there with gongs. He's working with a store out there in Oakdale called, I think it's in Oakdale. It's called Gurus. So the East Indian family owns the shop. They own several of them. But at that one in Oakdale, he does Reiki. He's a Reiki master, a Reiki teacher. He works well with crystals like nobody's business. He's a bad mamma jamma, and he allowed me to become his mentor. And so he's out there. In fact, he's so much of a mentor that he know how to levitate? No, he's not into that. Hector was born in the Dominican Republic. His mother was like my mom. He's not into that. He's into actually helping you make your life better. So he uses sound, he uses gongs, he uses his voice. In fact, when he chants a prayer, many of the mantras, when he chants them, he sounds like 2 people when you really tune into his voice. Hector and I we're like practical. Uh, there are people that can do those things. I've been studying off and on telekinesis. I haven't done it yet, but I know it's possible because I've seen other people online do it. It's not a big thing. It's whatever. When we do these things, you got to figure out what is your main purpose for doing it, and when you do it and you become good at it, is your ego out the way? Because that's going to be very important. If your ego's in the way too much, you might be able to do these things, but you'll wind up doing them for all the wrong things, which means can be very disappointing. And you got to be aware that sometimes if you're not on the right frequency, even though you can do certain things, you wind up getting sick. You wind up attracting the wrong people into your life. You'll round up attracting others who can do it too, but they'll do it for negative purposes. So it's highly important. Yeah, there are people. There's a guy online. His name is Jesus Barnes, not Jesus Barnes. Jesus Barnes. I think he's from Arizona. He's known as Jesus the Living Son. That's the whole title. Jesus the Living Son. And he teaches, he actually demonstrates, and you can tell that he's been at it for over 10, 15 years. He can make pinwheels in the grass move in two different directions. He's got children moving them. He has a house where people come and visit him, and it's like playing ping pong with tinfoil. They're pushing tinfoil back and forth across a dining room table. He is very, very, very good. And there's many other people like him that are around. They have psi schools, as they call them, psi academies, psi contests. Whoever can do the most with it can make things happen. There's a guy, several guys that empower each other. They're in different parts of the world, I believe. And what they do is they set up lighters on a table, and they have their computers so you can see the countdown from, or count up from, 0:0000, right? And what they'll do is they try to time it. They try to set it and then grab as many of those lighters as they can, two or three of them off a table. And these guys are doing this with speed that is pretty close to, I guess, 2 thousandths of a second, 3 thousandths of a second, or less. You can tell they've been doing this for a long time. There's another guy that was sticking cups on a wall by the stairs, drinking cups, paper drinking cups. He was taking his child's building blocks, letters and numbers, holding it up, and then letting his hand go, and it's sticking to the wall. And there's nothing there because you can tell it's stucco. Then he puts cups over it. There's a woman that can stick pencils to a refrigerator, lead pencils to an aluminum refrigerator. These people, and there's younger people doing it too. There's also a group, I think it's two different groups, schools, one in the Middle East and one in India. These children are not any older than 10, 8 or 10 years of age, and all of them have the tin foil on a pin on a block, moving it. Some are moving it clockwise, some are moving it counterclockwise. They're not breathing on it, they're not blowing on it, they're not whipping their hand to create air or tension. They're moving it with their mind. There are people, and this is literally all over the world, and someone here in the United States has a school where the children are using their levels of sensitivity through their hands, and they're blindfolded. And the teacher drops these little pads in their hands that are different colors. Kid is totally blindfolded. He's going, minute it hits his hand, red, yellow, green, blue, purple, white, black. And I'm like, wow, the kid can't be any older than 8, 9 years of age. Same children are riding bicycles in a field. They're all blindfolded. Asiatic, European, East Indian, you name it. They are riding bikes around cones. They're completely blindfolded. So these skills do exist. It takes quite a time to clear the mind. I've almost done it. Now, I've done it with a pendulum. So I know if I can do it with a pendulum, I can cause the pendulum to go, left to right, giving me a no, north and south, giving me a yes, right, like northeast to southwest, that's a maybe yes, and the other way is a maybe no, you know, clockwise, a dramatic yes, counterclockwise. So I know I can do it with a pendulum. I guess when I get to the 10th floor, my mind freezes a little bit. But these things are done, and they're being shown literally all over the world. And they're not afraid to demonstrate that they can do it. There's another guy that takes a vase, a glass vase, and he puts an object like a small ball on his table or on a floor in his basement, and he covers it with the glass, no air in the glass. And he stands about 10 strides away, and he moves that ball inside that glass. Amazing. There's a lady that, you go to apartment areas and you go to put out your garbage and they have a gate, right? Metal gate or a wooden gate to close. This sister's meditating underneath a tree. Then she goes over to where the garbage unit is and she opens the door. You can tell she's about 10, 15 feet away, places her hand out, tunes in, and she becomes one with the door and she's moving the garbage area door open. Got people, thunderbolts. Now, at one point when I was younger, back in my 40s, I was doing something like that, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was weathercrafting one day, and it was raining. It wasn't raining hard, but it was raining enough where you need an umbrella, right? And I left my friend's house, who was very much into the metaphysical, very positive occult work, and I didn't have an umbrella. She said, "I'll take my umbrella." I said, "I'll be okay." I said, "I'm gonna see if I can do this." So I was on her porch, began to meditate deeply, and I said to myself, wherever my path is, I will have my wings span. I'll stretch my arms out 3, 4 inches past my hands on both sides, all the way around my body. No rain. No rain hitting me. She said, "Honey, Brother Francis," I said, "What? Look up." I looked up, and there was an opening in the cloud. And I was walking 10 minutes, 15, 10 minutes to the bus stop. And this was a unique day because the wind was blowing with the rain, but there was no rain on me. No, just walking. One lady on the block said, "Hey, mister, you need an umbrella?" I said, "No, I'm fine." She said, "You sure?" She came out and she said, "Oh my God." She went back in to her house. I didn't lose the focus. I kept walking. Another day, I was in a Dunkin' Donuts at the bus stop, not far, 10 minutes, 15 minutes from her house. And a windstorm was kicking up. And here I am feeling the vibration. The vibration of that was so, so, so intense that I got a little nervous and I remembered, no, I'm in tune with this, but I can't stop it. It wasn't a hurricane, it was just really high gusty winds. So, hurricane winds are in the hundreds, right? But there was a high gusty wind that day. And I could sitting next like in a bus this way and people coming in like this, and I could feel the wind. I said, "This doesn't feel right." So I put my hand on the glass and I could feel the vibration go up my left hand, up past my elbow, and I pulled it back and I said, this thing is going to break. So I got up, and there was an elder gentleman ahead of me. I said, "Mister, we got to leave this glass. We got to get away from the glass." He turned around and said, "What you mean? I'm drinking my coffee." I said, "Well, you're going to drink drinking glass in a minute if we don't get away from here." Because everybody was like, the doors were slamming, everything was in motion. It was like a movie. Finally, I just, "You'll thank me later." I snatched him by the arm and pulled him with me. And we ran down the hallway where the restrooms were. I said, "We need to go in the restroom." "Oh, I said, "Just come on, man." I said, "You got your you got your bag, your briefcase. I got my shoulder thing. Let's fly, Jack." We were running. He said, "No, no, no, I don't know." I said, "Come on." And the minute we got in, we heard this. The people were behind the counter working. There was two other people that were there. They had to run down the other side. I guess we go get supplies. They got out of the way. He and I were in the men's room. When we heard that loud noise, he said, "What was that?" I said, "I bet you where you were sitting and I was sitting, Ain't nothing there but glass now. Finally, they called cops and ambulance. Someone did get hit with a plate of glass coming across and went right over the counter. They had to close the place down. When we opened up and cracked the door open, the whole plane of glass where I was sitting and the one where he was sitting, it was clearly knocked out. The glass where I was hit the table and crashed on the floor. Where he was, it literally hit the table and it was shattered. So he looked at me and he said, "How'd you know that?" I'm not here to brag, buddy. Just something that we need not be sitting there. We got out the way. Sometimes when you work with meditation, if you work with your meditation strong enough, you will be able to do a lot of things. One of the things you'll be able to do is control your own heartbeat, overcome fear, doubt. This is some of the basic things. I remember having a mild heart attack, and a martial arts friend literally put me on his back where he and I were living, and walked me like that to the hospital. This was back in, oh my goodness, this was back in 1970, just before I met Lloyd. Actually, right after I met Lloyd. So here I was in early 80s, not feeling well. And my friend carried me literally on his back to where we had to go to the hospital. We were only like 15-minute walk, but he carried me. The guy was strong. And I mean strong. He weighed a solid 175. And I was 25 pounds in weight more than him. And he just put me on his back and carried me. Got in there to the emergency room. Doctor looked at me. My eyes looked pretty glazed out. He said, "Oh, yeah, you got high blood pressure." So all I could do was just sit there. And I started doing my Tai Chi set in my mind. And I began to take on the feeling of how that feels when I do Tai Chi in the park. And it got better and deeper and better. My mind calmed down. The nurses and him were running around trying to shoot me up with some medication. And eventually they said, "Hey," doctor says, "What's your name?" Uh, I looked at him, Francis. "Got a middle name?" I says, "Yes, Eddie." "Last name?" "Revels-Bey." He kept asking me over and over. He says, "Date of birth?" I says, March 16th, 1952. That was a Sunday at 7 a.m. Okay. He asked me a few other questions. "Do you know where you're at?" I says, "Yeah, I'm in Mercy Hospital on the border of Rockville Center and Hempstead off of Peninsula Boulevard." He said, "Okay, you're doing pretty good." He said, "Well, your blood pressure keeps going up. Where it is right now, you're not supposed to be sitting up. You're supposed to be lying down." I said, "I don't feel like lying down. I need to sit up." So he kept looking at me. He did some other things. He said, "Oh my gosh." I says, "What?" "Your blood pressure is like too low. I got to figure out why that's going on." So I started to think. And he said, "Sir, your heartbeat is really, really low." He says, "Are you an athlete?" I said, "No. I just walk maybe 2 or 3 miles every other day." Then it hit me. "Oh, I do Tai Chi twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. So this is right around the time when I do it in the park." "You're doing what?" "Tai Chi." He thinks, "Oh, he's an Egyptian dude." He said, "I have a younger brother. He practices that Tai Chi." I said, "Yeah, that's what I'm doing." "How you said doing it?" I said, "Doing it in my head, just envisioning myself doing it." He said, "Okay, everybody, this man is controlling it because right now, right in the middle." So then he said, "Well, you sit here for a little bit. Try to lay down." I said, "I don't want to lay down. Laying down, I'll lose control. I'm better sitting up on your bench. Came back in and wanted me to give me Tylenol. So you need to take this Tylenol. I'm gonna give you is two pills. So over the next 3 days, it'll calm you down. And I said, okay. He said, I'm gonna give you one now. I said, oh God. So he gave it to me. I did one of those things like the guys did in the movie. I hit it underneath my tongue and just drank the water. He said, oh, this is good. Okay. When we got out of there, I spit it out in the street. But that just goes to show you, you have good, good control. Now, you all are probably saying, Brother Bey, you're talking a lot. Who's that third person? Well, that third person, she's a yoga instructor out here. She taught Don Yoga for many years out here. She was a master Don Yoga teacher. Her name was Lynn Alexander. Lynn and I went to Hempstead High School together. She graduated a year or two ahead of me. I graduated in 1970. She graduated in 1968. She also lives out here in Albuquerque, more a little bit more south of where I am right now. Three people. Amazing, right? Well, as I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about what numerology is or the importance of it, dreams and meditations. Now, I can already feel the vibe in the air. I feel the vibe. You all want to get some readings. So I'm going to save the numerology for last. I'm going to talk more about the other two items, which are dreams and the importance of meditation. The reason why you want to meditate is so that you can become calmer. See, if you can meditate every day, things don't bother you as much as you think they might. I have like one or two clients. These guys are they're veterans of the military, so I understand that they suffer from what is that PDST, post traumatic syndrome disorder, which means they are still hearing the bombs. They've seen death right in front of them. Guys get blown apart. That's still in their system. It's still in their muscle structure. It's still in their nerve system. And these are guys that served in the Vietnam War, guys that have maybe never been in a war but close to it, but that is still embedded deep inside their consciousness. So what happens is when they see a lightning storm. Now, if they're sitting out with other people, because there's other people sitting nearby, the protective mode comes up. So they don't show fear when they're alone. And they hear that lightning and the flash, it feels like a bomb to them. They become super sensitive to those sounds. And sometimes it's good for them to have medical marijuana. When medical marijuana wasn't medical, though, people were smoking it all the time. I understood. They were getting high enough to sedate themselves, to calm themselves down, to try not to worry about those things. And but they're still, to this day, some served in the Iranian wars, the first ones. Agent Orange, affected by that stuff. Many didn't get a chance to be chosen to do remote viewing and things of that nature, to be the intelligent officers that go into those things. be they in the Navy, Air Force, Army, or Marines. It takes a certain mindset to do that. Many couldn't get to that level. Many couldn't become the Navy SEALs or the Rangers because it takes a certain personality. You got to have a survivor's instinct in order to do something like that, and you have to know why you want to do it. So I've worked with a lot of people with meditation, and I have to say it doesn't work all the time because if they spend a lot of time in doubt and fear and anxiety and stress and worrying about the worst, then it's not much I could really do with or for a person like that, especially if they're watching the news repeatedly. Sometimes people do that, right? Because you don't have anything else to do, so you want to see what's going on in the world, and you feel watching the news is going to do it. Just like people watch horror flicks, and some people get a kick out of that. Hey, I watch a lot of martial arts movies. I get a kick out of that too, but I try not to watch it too much. So here I am in my apartment. What I do, I get up in the morning. I'm not watching anything with some guy attacking another guy in martial arts. I'm not watching a Michael Jai White movie or a Denzel Washington Terminator movie. I'm watching Family Feud repeats. So I want to laugh. That's important. So we have to find those things that could be quite helpful for ourselves, for our well being. Here's something else that meditation can work on the nerve system. Now, there's a lot of machines out there. Just recently, a month ago, I bought a Relithra, Relithra. It's a very small unit, about this big, about as big as one of my books here. And I paid like 79 bucks for it, but it gives off Schumann resonance frequencies, anywhere from 2.5 hertz cycle all the way up to 10,000 hertz cycles. I twisted my knee and I used a 787, and after twisting my right knee a little bit, I used a 787.00 hertz for 2 weeks. I had speakers. I could hear the tone in the bedroom, relaxed into it. After 2 weeks, like nothing ever happened. Those things work. But you got to find the thing that works best for you. So you can use the listening of solfeggio tones. There's 9 of them, 9 basic ones: 174, 741, and 417. Use a numerology that adds to 3. Then there's 285, 528, and then 825. You add those together, you get a 6, right? Each one adds the 6. Then you have 369, 693, and 963. And then those three, which add up to 9, give you the vibration to change things emotionally with yourself. 963, they call that the God frequency. Opens you up into higher consciousness. But when you listen to these things, you have to listen to these things basically every day for as long as you can, at least about 30 days. Because then when you listen for 30 days, you feel the internal shift that goes on within yourself. So you can use solfeggio tones. You can use color vibrations around you. Such a thing as color therapy. So you get a light bulb that radiates blue. I have a light bulb that gives off a blue ray like this. And I leave it on at night in my living room. So much soothing to me to sleep by the blue light. Red light is more of a root chakra. Blue light is a throat chakra, heart chakra, crown chakra, third eye, that helps in that department. There's purple lights. You can use crown energy with purple lights, golden lights, solar plexus, and crown energy. So you can use color ray vibrations to help set things in motion for yourself. So many people sometimes ask about how important are are our dreams. Well, what can you utilize when you work with dreams? Well, here's the thing. Dreams are the workshop of the mind. The late Reverend Ike used to say, your mind in the state with dreams is the theater of your mind. What he meant by that, you would envision in your head something that you strive to have in your life, whether it's seeing yourself with peace, harmony, happiness, you see yourself healthier. He says, how would you utilize the mind, your thoughts? Well, one of the ways is to recognize, when do we dream? Well, when you do a lot of studies, right now I'm talking to you in the beta state, the more awakened state, consciously awakened state. So this is anywhere from 13, 14 hertz cycles and higher, way up there in the 20 range, 26 range. Meaning the brain is active enough that you can think clearly for yourself. You can analyze things, you can read. Now, there are higher frequencies than that, but when you get that high, it's like you almost zone out as the brain is moving so quickly with the frequencies. Those are what they call the gamma waves. Those gamma waves are similar to the rays coming from the sun to the earth. Those frequencies are hitting you so fast that it hits the electromagnetic field. By the time you get it, you may not think it has a greater impact on you. However, it does. So you find yourselves being bombarded with these higher ranges. And for some people respond pretty well to them, other people can't. So we're bombarded all the time. That's why, again, meditation is important, because you can tune into those higher frequencies. You can figure out where you're going with those frequencies and which ones you really need to pull into your energy field without blowing out your own personal circuits, because we're electromagnetic beings. We have trillions of cells in our body that carry something like, I believe, 0.17 or zero point 0.7 volts, volts of electricity. So that's why when we get struck by lightning, we feel it, right? Either kills us, knocks us out unconsciously. Some people have been blessed to have their perceptions change. People become psychic all of a sudden, or more so psychic, because they got struck by lightning. Usually the heart, though, gets slowed down. There's a gentleman, they say he works with maybe 17% of his heart. That's, I believe his name is Daniel Brinkley. He wrote a book called Saved by the Light. And he was talking about lightning bolt light. He got struck twice. He got struck the first time. He was a womanizer, I believe, out of Alabama or Mississippi or Texas. There's a movie about him where he's cursing this lady out or being mean to her over the phone. And the lightning hits his house, but it misses the pole. And it comes right out of the water faucet that he's standing in front of in his kitchen, knocks him flat out. Now he's talking on the phone when it happens. The person hears him say something. They get an ambulance to him, take him to the hospital. He almost dies. That's when he began to change. His whole mannerisms, the way he treated women and other people in his life began to change. He got struck by lightning. He was just fortunate to live through it. He began to change a little bit. He also was, I believe, an alcoholic. I met him in person when I worked at that store called Wise Man's Bookstore in Wayne, New Jersey. The guy that ran it, they were going to a whole life expo, and Daniel Brinkley was in town. They linked up and they both drove into New York City, and he was giving a lecture. Many years went by after him getting struck by lightning. He didn't like himself because he started to return to mistreating women badly and other people in his life badly. And he got to a point where what was considered psychic stuff flowing through his body he couldn't handle, kind of going a little on the nutty side. So one day he had to overcome the drinking and the nasty attitude that he carried, and he wanted to change. He didn't like himself. He thought he was trying to commit suicide, running out in a lightning storm, wanting to get struck. And what happened? Got struck the second time, knocked down in a field, raining. People saw him get hit, I believe. Stayed in the hospital a few more months, but he definitely changed after that. But his heart, because he got hit with so much of that lightning bolt and survived it, his heart began to not register the same way. But he was fortunate. I don't think he's passed away yet. He should be about in his 80s by now. Amazing. My grandma Charlotte, understood that she got struck by lightning, I believe. She didn't survive. She was doing a prayer ritual, positive one, on her property and got struck. Didn't even see it coming. You can't imagine what it feels like if you should live it. You, hand, shoulder, back, chest, top of your head. I can't imagine what that's like. Not many people survive. So, why am I talking about this? Dreams, a lot of shamans say your dream world is your real world, and the world you see around you is the illusionary world. I'll say that again. Your dream world is your real world, and the one that you awakened in is your illusionary world. That's because in the dream world, you have an opportunity to change everything around that you see going on in the dream. Everything. How you present yourself, things that you're doing, people, conversations that you're having, especially with people you don't get along with. So you get to discover in the dream world how to change all that around. You get to do that. And in the beginning, it doesn't feel like you're doing it. When you wake up, you notice things are different. So there's some things you'd have to realize basically that are going on in a dream. When you awaken in the dream and your body is still asleep, they call that lucid. Lucid, as in David, lucid, meaning you are awakened. You are aware that you are having a dream. Now, that's very unique because usually what happens, you awaken in the dream world, turn around, and see your physical body prone on the bed. asleep. You can see the body breathe, but you're not there. You're in what is called the etheric dream realm. And now you begin to see the mind, see how your mind operates, just like a movie screen. So once you get in the habit of knowing that you're having a lucid dream on a regular basis, then you are taking the thoughts where something you want to drastically change for the better. Could be getting a better job, getting a raise on your job, being in your relationship with you and your partner could have a better relationship, have a better understanding of what your partner is like. People say, well, maybe you want to hit the lottery. You can. You could probably do it. I'm not bragging. I said I used to think about it and get messages, but it's kind of moved away from that. It's like it gets to be old hat. If you're not hitting the biggest of the biggest, utilizing this stuff, move on. And that's what I decided to do. But in its place, I've attracted some very, very positive and unique people into my life, which is better than hitting the lottery. And I mean better than hitting the lottery. At least those new people in my life, I'm not paying absorbent tax because they're just new friends in my life. So things like that happen in lucid dreaming. You become awakened that something that you're seeing in the dream is not necessarily real, even if you wake up out of the dream. An example, I was in a dream at a Macy's Day Prayer. You're welcome. Macy's Day Prayer parade, which is the Thanksgiving parade. And here I was in the dream. Now, when I was having the dream, it wasn't Thanksgiving Day, as they say it, right? It was a dream about that. And here I was on Fifth Avenue watching the people come down from the upper part to the lower part. And I'm like, this is unique. I see a yacht, not a float, a yacht. I'm looking, and then I see the pavement tearing up, the asphalt. I said, well, that doesn't happen if a yacht or a boat or cruise ship is on the street. I should see water around it, but I didn't see any water around it. What I saw was the asphalt kicking up. I could hear it painfully, screeching sound in the street. Looking up, people waving on the boat, looking at the street. So I began to walk away and sat down at an outdoor cafe watching. Someone got off the boat that was waving at me. So this is weird. Why is this person who was on the boat now off the boat walking up the block where I was outside? Amazing. This person was dressed like Bozo the Clown with the red hair, the bald hair, right? The big nose, the loud outfit, and the big feet coming up the block. And this is what I got out of the dream. The boat, like our life, sometimes goes through rough things. Our life, ups and downs. Even though there are many ideas on how we could correct the situation, or many people that can assist us in making the situation better, there's always that one person that's in your life or that one part of yourself you need to be. Because the person approached me as a clown, laughing, flowers, water popping up out the flowers at people. But when a person, a clown, passed me, his whole outfit didn't cover his back. Nothing from his shoulders down to his. He had on a pair of pants. I don't remember if they're spandex or what. He didn't have a shirt on. He had no socks on, but I could see the heels and the ankles of his feet. And I took that as hmm, life can be funny, but it's also serious. And often we are hiding behind a mask. We want everyone to see that we're very, very happy all the time. But however, for me, in that particular point in my life, I wasn't having a great time trying to figure life out. When I had that dream, I was in my 30s. Wasn't seeing things properly for myself. So that was a reminder. I'm on a in life. You may appear to be having a great time, but you're in difficult parts. You can be wear the mask all day long, but eventually you got to get to the core where you're not here to joke around so much. You're here to be happy, to find happiness, but not be lost in the illusions of it. Got to strip yourself bare, get down to the basic part of you. So that was one aspect of looking at a dream. And there's so many aspects. Got insects in your dream, certain insects they call animals. I think they're like the spiders and so forth, right? You get a praying mantis, you get a butterfly. Each one of these sets of insects or animals represent things that can be positive to us. We see something happening all the time around ourselves, and we get to see the reality of who we can be or who we need to be, where we need to make changes. So, dreams can help you figure that out, figure out who you are, who's in your life, who you get along with, who you don't, and how to make the changes in an appropriate way so that there's healing for you and the other person if necessary. Sometimes people don't want the healing from you. They want to stay in the funk. Sometimes you've got to disconnect from people emotionally and also mentally as well so that you can heal. Because the most important thing is you want to love yourself more. I was asked earlier this week, someone said, well, how you go about, you know, treating yourself better? You know what I do? And I like to do it. I love food. I will go out and have breakfast because I want to. I will find people to go out and have breakfast with, or lunch, or dinner. Why? Because we need to change how we think about ourselves. It's like if you don't love yourself, and I'm not saying anything that's new. I'm quite Ayanna Van Zant can tell you this. The late Reverend Ike can tell you this. Uh, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith could tell you this. You can go look at the teachers of Neville Goddard. All these people, people are still on the planet. Dr. Beckwith, Carolyn Miss, all Ayanna Van Zant. All of these people can tell you about loving yourself, but you have to do it. You have to come to that point where you do love yourself. That's important. If you don't love you, no one can be drawn to you because you've got to build up the energy with yourself. That's what all the great metaphysician teachers tell you. You've got to have the consciousness overflow with what you're trying to attract into your life. You also have to be honest about it too. Some people just want to be left alone. That doesn't mean they want to be happy though. They might still be harboring some poisonous thoughts or feelings about being by themselves. So there's many ways you can work on yourself. You can use a dream, Like Reverend Ike used to say, the theater of the mind. Begin to see yourself successful. See yourself going after a job interview. Successful. Dressing appropriate for the job. Successful. Thinking positively about yourself. Having positive interactions with you and the interviewer. Being able to say how you can make the company better. You just feel good about yourself. And you know it's your time for change. So you might look at something like that. Or maybe you're a person who's a musician or artist. Perfect thing to think it was the movie Michael, where people found a notebook that he had, where he actually wrote, he does not want to be known as Michael Jackson. He wants to be known as MJ. He was putting an intention out. He wanted to be a master of everything, not just a singer, not just a songwriter, not just a producer, not just a director, not just a dancer. He wanted to be the best of the best. He admired all the great dancers, but he wanted to to take it to a whole nother level where they left off at. He began to understand who he was and what he wanted. He actually epitomizes, symbolizes things that we're all trying to do. And I remember, I'm 74 years old. I'm 6 years older than Michael Jackson. I used to follow him. I was in an R&B group in high school. When they came out, we going, "Ooh, this is a cool group." And then you get into it, and then you start to strive, and then you start to move in the direction of where you want to be. I tell all my students, this is what I've learned, and nobody has to follow this, but this is what I've learned. Sometimes you become very stressed at being the perfectionist. Michael Jackson became very stressed at being the perfectionist, but he conquered it, right? Because he made himself change often. And he was a guy that could play some instruments, but better yet, he can mimic the sound of an instrument. No auto tones back in his day. He can mimic the rhythm of the drums, the drum beat, the bass, the guitar, the horns, the violins, the flutes. He knew exactly how he wanted his music to sound. And he would work with people till they got it right. Perfect pitch. And he never yelled at anybody. He just said, it's all love, man. Just work it, work it, work it. You're going to get it. It's all love. But here's what I tell people: strive not to be perfect. You can strive to be as perfect as you want to be, playing the guitar, playing drums, piano, organ, perfecting the sound of your voice. But it takes a toll on you after a while. So I tell my meditation students, just show up, be present, be in the present moment, hold that energy for yourself. When you can hold the energy of being in the present moment, the now time, then what happens? You begin to build the energy up inside you, and then you begin to attract. That means you have the energy within you, the electrical magnetic field inside of you, and you're building it up so that your entire body is flushed with the energy. And then you're staying in the present moment of positiveness, positive thoughts, positive actions, positive deeds. And as you do that, you become more magnetic. The thoughts that you send out are magnetic also. Thoughts you bring in when you inhale are very magnetic. And then everything hits on the same wavelength because you're living in the present moment. You're not trying to think about what could happen in the future. You see, if we worry too much about what's going to happen in the future, we might fall off our center. And then we start to worry about what's going to happen, right? That's when the news media kicks in with the negativity. All the different political groups got their own ways, and you're falling one way or the next. But you start worrying. Your greatest fear is their greatest fear. You start acting like them, becoming like them. You lose yourself. You no longer are mastering you. Fear is mastering you. People say to me, oh, the news is right there, man. Things are going on. You're not afraid. I said, if I keep focusing on what could happen in a negative way, I feed into the negativity and I help them make it happen. We have to think positive for ourselves. When I say ourselves, I mean everybody that doesn't want to live in a negative world. You must start to use the metaphysical and the spiritual and the occult in a very positive way so that your life improves. As your life improves gradually, so will the community of people around you. Their lives are going to improve. It's a frequency. That's why people were trying for the Guinness Book of World Records. Everybody meditate at a particular time. Millions of people. When millions of people meditate, putting out an energy, the frequency going out of pure love, unconditional love, divine grace, blessings. Keep putting that out. Eventually, it's got to knock down the wall of negativity. It's got to crumble the wall of fear. It's got to dilute and dissolve and purify that which was poisonous, change it to something that's positive, or neutralize it and get rid of it. So we have to keep thinking positive no matter what. Keep envisioning positive images, positive scenery, positive neighbors, positive communities, to the point that the world that you are in, the dimensional time frame that you are in, becomes what you are painting it, what you're seeing before you. That means someone else can be in the 3D world with you right now. Because they're only dealing with the negatives, that's all that they attract. You can be right next door attracting positive. Hmm? You're in one house, they're in the next house. You're in your house thriving, producing positive frequency. Next door, negative. But if yours is strong enough, it will overlap that one and begin to quiet negativity down. But likewise, if their negativity is high and your positiveness is low, they'll overcome your energy. The positive, the unconditional love, the divine grace, it'll win because everyone wants to win. No one wants to lose. No one wants to die either. I can tell you that. Ain't nobody out here they can brandish the biggest, the baddest gun. Ain't nobody want to die. And those who portray that eventually harm themselves and their own lineage. So, 100 years from now, the people being negative, now, 100 years from now, their kids who are in their little baby bodies and preteens, when they get up at age, they're gonna wonder like, how's this happening? Why is somebody treating me this way? Someone in your lineage did it. You couldn't control it though. But someone in your lineage did it and left negative actions bombarding you. Everything has to be worked in such a way that it produces new life, new things, positive things. Very, very important. That's why when people are, I have a younger niece right now. She's out with her friends. She's enjoying her summer from her freshman year in college. And I was trying to get her to tune in tonight. She said, "Uncle Frank, I'm going out and listen to some spoken word poetry." That's who she is. She's a spoken word poet. Age 15, out in Oakland, was won a youth laureate, poet laureate award. Got her name right up there in the city hall. She's doing great work. But that's what I'm talking about. Clusters of people doing positive things. If clusters of people can do positive things all over the community, all over the state, all over the country, all over the world, things will shift. And things are about to shift. It's not going to be as negative as we think. It's shifting for a reason. It's becoming more positive. So your dreams are the workshop of your own mind and life. And you can think all day what you want to dream and then dream it and watch the dream fulfill itself. The dream becomes your reality. So, all right. So, what's so important about this thing called numerology? And I don't profess to be a master at it, I just have an interest in it. There are many things out there. There's people doing cardology. I'm not a cardologist, but people have worked out whole maps where they can take your date of birth and your year and find you through the system of cardology and can predict pretty much what's ahead of you. That's pretty cool. You want to check that out? Just type in cardologist. Go to Lloyd Strayhorn's one of his podcasts that you'll find. You'll look up here on YouTube. Just put in the at symbol, numbers in you as one long word, and then put in the numbers 37, 35, and it should open up to his page. And you can go through there and find him interviewing people talking about cardology. So there's a lot of things people are putting together that work. You have to find what works for you. I just like to keep it simple. You can use either the Chaldean system or the modern numerology system. You have to find out what works best for you. Most of us, when we teach in numerology to people, we teach the modern method. Why? Because it's easy to remember. You just write across the page 1 through 9, and then underneath you write the letters. So the top row will be A through I, the bottom row will be J through perhaps R, and then the row after that will take you from S to Z, and then you'll get it. You'll see the letters lined up in the columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, if you're trying to do the Chaldean, it's a little different. The first 5 letters will be just like the first 5 letters of the modern method. Then it's going to jump around a little bit. That had to do with the language and the alphabet during that time. The Chaldean is considered the most ancient one. Now, a lot of people will claim it. I've seen people in India claim, well, no, it doesn't belong to them either. Chaldean, around Babylonian times, the Chaldean people were in Egypt. Where's Egypt? Not the Middle East. Egypt is in Africa. So these things are developed in that. And in the modern method, some people refer to as the Moorish method. I'm quite sure if we found some old uh, videos, recordings of Brother C. Freeman Eel, we'll probably see him talk about it. But we find out which one works. I mean, if you were born in Ireland, you're going to have a different look at it from over there. You're born in Russia, you're going to have a different look at it over there. You were born in Germany, you're going to have a completely different look. You have to find the system that you are comfortable with. It's like a language. We know that all the people around the world can speak English. Some speak the King's English, some speak American English. Nonetheless, they're talking English and they understand it. Not everybody can talk Korean, Chinese language, Mandarin, and Cantonese. Not many people can do that. Some people can, if they grew up in those regions, in those countries. So all these things work. We just have to find the language of numbers that fits what we're striving to do the best. This is why you have to study and you need to take your time. You don't need to rush. But here's some basic things about numbers. And I'm going to pull it from my book. My book I wrote. The key to life is numerology, your name and date of birth through the study of numbers. This was a valuable thing in which to work with. I believe I wrote this book in copyrighted it in 2020. Yeah, that's how long the book was out, since 2020. I put a lot of books out in 2020. But here's some of the things. The birthday numbers. Root numbers 0 to 9. Birthday numbers 1 to 31. Birthday numbers 1 to 31 are like roses with petals. That means the astrological sign and month and day come together. Birth years and master numbers 000 to 99. That means something. But then the master numbers themselves 00 to 99. Compound numbers 10 through 90. All these things have significance. And it's important when we look at the numbers. So let's give you some basic things here. And it's good to see that there are many people utilizing numerology in a way that's helpful. So let's look at some of the basics because this is important. And I think when I did this, yeah, I believe when I did this, I even was thinking of Michael. I thought about Michael Jackson. I heard the other day Lloyd did a whole thing on Michael Jackson's birthday, and I thought that was really, really unique because the movie is so epic. So many good deals of information hitting the planet. So he was able to do that. And that's why sometimes we don't need to repeat so much what other people have put out. Let's do the philosophical. That's the quicker way to do it. With the philosophical numbers 1 through 9, actually 0 through 9, is these are the root digits. So we go from 0 to 9. The meaning of root numbers 0 to 9. This chapter 3 of my book, contains the meanings of the root numbers 0 to 9. Toward the end of each part, I will add a meditative affirmation to help you as student and practitioner receive further insight upon 0 through 9. So here's 0. Excuse me, it's hot. Fans are not working. And I think the temperature, mine was still sitting at 95 over an hour and a half ago when I started at night. So 0 is the symbolic number of the universal womb, where all life comes from, and in this sense represents where all other numbers come through its being and returns. So we look at the earth as being like that. Our physical body has trace minerals that belong to the earth. Selenium is in the earth. And when you're craving for more of it, you search it outside of yourself. People want copper more, right? Trace mineral copper's in your system, but you're craving for it so much you start getting elements, objects in your home that are pure copper. So you start envisioning and you start seeing these things over time. And you find a way to collect these things around you to build up the energy of the trace mineral inside the body. I have selenite all over my apartment. I got selenite over there in tabular form. I got selenite on top of a clear quartz cluster underneath a circular glass coffee table. Why? So it can radiate the energy. I have big pieces on my altar in my bedroom. I got it all over. I got it underneath my bed, in the four corners of the bed. I'm swimming in selenite. But it boosts the energy up inside. What can it do for you? When you got selenite like that in your system, in your body, it increases longevity, youthfulness, vitality, and a quicker way to heal. That's the unique thing about it. So think of selenite like being zero. Selenite, the number zero, also represents the universal presence and expression of one source called both Divine Mother and Father. This means it can be remembered as a divine expression of all things and seen as the divine potential of every number that is paired with. So that means when you see the zero as 10, zero paired with 1, 20, zero paired with the 2. It's going up, right, in degrees. 30, same thing. 40, same thing. 50, 60, all the way up to 90. Then you got the double zeros, 100, 200, all the way up to 900. Then you get into the thousands, 1,000 with three zeros, 2,000 with three zeros. So the zeros are impacting that number, making things greater, making things more expansive. It is a number of great empowerment, reminding us that we have this infinite power that dwells where? Within us. And thus the numbers of infinity are within the zero, which is limitless and boundless. For those of you that like to deal with the traditional tarot decks, it's called the cipher, Cipher, or Zipher. Represents the serpent eating its tail. You'll see that in the image of the magician. Magician is the first tarot trump card, first major arcana card. And what's happening is the snake is like a belt around its waist, a green snake. Green is infinite, eternal, everlasting, eating its own tail. Also representing the Alpha and Omega, the one, hmm, Omega, zero, last in all of divinity. Always continuous. So, here, the number zero is the mother of all numbers, for it is original number of infinity, as it is nothing, yet all things at once. The womb is that, represents all things at once. It's limitless, it's boundless, it's the original. It is the original God and goddess energy entwined with each other. Here's an affirmation of the zero: I am the beginning and the end of all that is everywhere. I, as the zero, am nothing, and yet I am you as well. I am the womb, the true matrix, and an integral part of your well being. You are birthed through me, the alma mater. I am that I am. And it says Alma. Alma means the mother. It is the mother. Alma, the ma of mother. It is the first of the matrix to experience. Well, how about the number one? The one quality represents a natural forthrightness and direction with an analytical mind. That's the number one, the spirit of the one. The number expresses what makes sense. I mean, it's going to analyze, it's going to look at it, it's got to be proper, it's got to make perfect sense to the mind. So there's no wavering. It represents an original and creative thinker and can represent the best. It comes forth out of the zero. First number that's given birth is one. It personifies an individual. When we think of the one, we look at places and people, workplaces, living residences. You know, if you have a building that adds to one, a building that adds to one. Hey, Lauren. So if you see a building that adds to one, right? I don't care if it's got 10 digits on it, 5 digits on it, 1 digit. If you add them up and you get the number one, that means more than likely in that big building, you'll find people born under the sign of Leo, Aquarius, some Cancerian, and some Pisces, but mainly ones and fours are in that building. That means people born on the 10th, 19th, and the 28th, born under the vibration of one, are in that building. They could be co workers, they could be bosses, they could be leaders, team leaders. They're the ones that take charge. Or I say one attracts four. Now, one is also the sun or Leo. So you can find the Leo personalities in a one building. See, Lauren got it. So this vibration is there. And it causes the one vibration, when it's that much in the building, it causes one to become a leader. Only thing people with the one, especially Leos, would have to do is to control the desire to be bossy. They can lead, but don't have to realize it don't have to be perfect all the time. Just be present and be supportive. Because if one is out in the front like that too much, they wear down themselves. So here's another thing about the number one. It is the early stage of ego development. That's when you hear a person says I, me in their conversation. They're pulling the energy toward themselves because they want to be seen all the time. That's the nature of the one. So the person has to be learn how to be not so critical. The unique nature of oneness and unity is attached to the number one. That's a person who's more mature in the one vibration. So they want to lead people, but they want to unify people together. So they become one mind. That's important. They can be very strong willed personalities with an innate ability to be upright, principled in their life, and set high standards. Ones can do that. But they just have to make sure they're not driving it through everybody. They can't be the hammer and everybody else be the nail. It's not going to work. They must have a healthy ego. What one has to realize, they did not arrive alone. As I say, one is the first number that comes out of the womb, which is zero. So they receive their nourishment from the mother, which is zero. Here's a quality, an affirmation of the one. I am the first layer of consciousness where I remember I came from nothing, which is zero, and I will return. I am here to learn who I am, where I am, and why I am. I am learning that I am standing, I am alone, and yet self sufficient and never lonely. I seek myself wherever I go, courageously, for my reflection as my other half. I am one. So the one is seeing this and being this. This number is taking on, like we say, like a life of its own. Here's the nature of the two. The two is the gift of partnership, as well as the mediator and peacemaker. Most people born on the nature of two, 2, 11, 20, and 29th, are peacemakers. They can work with other groups, large groups or small groups. The two strives to be diplomatic, and when making decisions, it's very important. They try to take everything into consideration. As a seeker of peace, harmony, and love, the two suggest that one has a good understanding of human nature through their feelings and keen observation of others in their lives. So the one is studying everybody. That's important. Hey Rose, how you doing? So the two is studying everybody. It's trying to what? Be in harmony. In other words, get along. One may observe and say, who can I can be the boss of? Two is saying, who can I get along with? That's important. Two wants to be the peacemaker. Two make great union reps. They can negotiate contracts quite well. Ones can make great judges or politicians, military people. But if a two is a military person, they're not going to abuse their title or their rank. The two is going to use some psychology to get everybody to work together, and then everybody becomes like a one. That's the nature of a two. Two is very creative. They like to have balance in all areas of their life, especially in their home and public life as well, the public arena. They can run businesses too. One's a good running large or small businesses. Two can run the cafe, the smaller places. Threes are great at restaurants too, because threes like to host everything. We'll see that a little later. Two's energy lends nourishment from the spiritual side to the earthly side. So two is not so much the crowd pleaser, but balances the crowd out, harmonize. So two can look in a room and say, okay, I'll get together with this group. This group seems to talk about their accomplishments too much. I want to see what kind of accomplishments or how people collaborate. That's a number two. Two is associated with water and emotions. Now, the number one is fire and emotions. Ones can be very passionate, or we might say ones, threes, and nines are like very passionate people. They like to create the turbulence at times. Ones will do it, and nines will do it. Nines will do it if they get bored. So the ones we've done. Now the two has been associated with water and emotions. Memory reminds us to bring nourishment and wellness into a situation, and especially into the body. Now, here's where the two needs to stay away from. Two should not ever become cold natured, selfish, or rigid. They must portray gentleness and be able to connect with everything that belongs to nature, which means the earth and all of its inhabitants, the creatures in the sea, the creatures in the soil, creatures hanging out in the trees, those who fly, those who walk on all fours, those with wings, those who slither. Two, right? That's the nature of the two. Mother Earth is an organic living being providing for all, and thus we are sometimes stewards, the caregivers, and sometimes can have numerous partners. That's the nature of a two. Single digit two, an 11 master number, which is a two, 20, which is a two, or 29. Dreams are important for the nature of the two, as they can be translated into ideas designed to catapult us forward in our lives. Now, Twos share something with threes. So I'm going to mention about threes now because I might forget. Twos and threes are good at fashion. Twos and threes are fashionable people. If you got a two in your birthday, you pay attention to fashion. Either you follow a trend or you create a trend. Follow a trend or create a trend. If you got twos in your birthday, two, it causes us to seek out a partner to harmonize and work with. See, twos aren't aloners, they can work with other people. This number reminds you to reflect on your life and realize you have come to be a reflection for others. That's the nature of the two. So if you see a two in a relationship, a 2, 11, 20, or 29, and they're trying to help somebody in the relationship, they become the mirror reflection of what that person can become or be. Or they will reflect back to them their cold heartedness, their meanness. They'll show it to them. And the person, oh, why are you being so mean? Well, it seems that's all you understand. Yes, I'm going to show you. The number two is polarity, duality, opposition, you see. The reflection of itself through parallel movement, in essence, which allows one to see more than itself and to recognize what we share an element of space with each other. So that's why two is the number of partnership, because it means they can share space with others. They can be silent when necessary. Twos attract sevens, silence, but they can see how to be outgoing. So, and twos, if they are aligned properly to another, they will have greater understanding and will never feel like they're by themselves. So twos love partnerships, love like to have a lot of friends. Affirmation of the two. I am the second layer of consciousness and remembrance. I have come to remind all of you that I am simply a reflection of the number one. I sing songs of polarity, opposites, and duality. I can blend with you or feel different from you. Nature of the two, see? I can dance with you. I can feel the tension between us or simply stand still next to you. Remember, I am the reflection of the number one. Thus, call me two. You might ask, how did you come up with these affirmations? Well, in order to do this part about the significance of meaning 0 to 9, I began to see 0 to 9 as a living spiritual being. When I began to do that, and now I was writing the book, the manuscript, and some said, we need to go back and write about the meanings of 0 to 9. So, having these affirmations and these descriptions about the single digit 0 to 9, I saw it as a living organic spirit that was communicating, talking to me. So when I looked at a meditation deeply in 0, I wake up in the middle of the night and 0's having a blast. 0's talking to me. Here's how these things came about. I would like to thank everybody that's tuned in. I know there's about 6 people in here, but I only see about 3 of you or 4 of you here. There's 2 others that didn't announce themselves, but that's okay. I'm glad you're here with me. I decided to follow the ancestors and come on tonight. So let's look at the number 3. The 3 represents expansion through the gift of creative self expression. Self is one. What is the gift? The gift of gab, the gift of talk, coming through the number 2. As one can be usually outspoken, conscientious, we're talking about 3, and principle minded, so can the 3 spirit being. Self expression through creativity is a must as their minds and bodies need activity. 3s get bored really fast. Hey, Barbara Ewing, how you doing? Greetings. 3s get bored because they got to have activity. Their mind must be stimulated. The physical body must be stimulated. The emotions must be stimulated, or they're going to be bored. In other words, they need something that challenges them a little bit. They need to feel alive in the world. That's the spirit of number three. This energy relates to children, teenagers, and young adults. Most are known to be talkative, competitive, and boastful. The three has a multitude of friends from every walk of life. If you run into a number three person, they know a whole lot of peeps. I tell you, they know a whole lot. They have the biggest friendship pool, number threes. Now, three represents Jupiter, two is the moon, which rules in Cancer, one is the sun, which is Leo, three is Jupiter. So they have good fortune, good luck with social things, social activities, parties, weddings, anniversaries, reunions, church gatherings, being out in the park, parades, festivals. Number three goes where the action is. That way they're not bored and they get some pretty good ideas they pick up and they're prone to meet some new people. Through the journey of life away from the void of nothingness, it becomes a great storyteller. Sometimes may embellish their life's experiences with a few twists and turns so that the listeners remain intrigued. Three vibration does that. I've done it. Sometimes I change the story a little bit. Why? Because I like to tell a good story. I like to see people laugh. I like to see people happy. But I don't twist it too much. I leave the truth in place. The three is like the host of the party, the social butterfly, who is very rarely seen alone. I mean, three has a whole bunch of friends. A whole bunch of friends. I mean, a lot. Threes can have the people who seem to be rough and difficult, or loud and bodacious, or they can be with a crowd of people who are music oriented, art oriented, ballet, tap, jazz, modern dance, abstract art, classical music, theater, poetry, attached to the three. If you have this number, you're very popular. You're drawn to the spotlight. You acquire lots of friends from different walks of life. Most to love, to have a good time, like yourself. Threes do this. So they always find the right people to be around them. What else about the three? They become the life of the party. You're throwing a party, invite a three oriented person. Someone born on the 3rd, 12th, 21st, and the 30th is good for your party. Or a person born on the sign of Jupiter for Sagittarius, good for your party. They will bring it. People can be there lushed around, not doing anything. A three will get on the floor and dance by themselves. And then everybody joins them. Like a bee, you float from one set of flowers, which are the people, to another, seeking variety and the spice of life, the nature of the three. This number seeds itself from its parents, the numbers one and two, one masculine dad, two feminine mom, and is now the host or hostess, making sure your plate or glass is never empty. When I was in college, there was a guy, his name was, he became a doctor. His name is Manuel Ali, Auli. When he would throw parties in the dorm, if your plate wasn't full, he was coming right by you with hors d'oeuvres. If your glass was half full, he was filling it up with soda, wine, milk, you name it. He was making sure that you were full, you were enjoying yourself. And he would say, hey, I done made a lot of food for the party. I don't want to go to waste. Eat it all. Enjoy yourselves. He's the number three. And he became to be a good doctor in Elmer's Hospital. He graduated from the same college I did, Bard. So the three possesses the awareness and remembrance to enjoy laughter, a good joke, occasional prank, but the prank has to be in good taste. Three is not going to help you, not going to hurt you by pranking you and making you feeling bad. They want you to laugh at life. This number seems to court luck and good fortune. Threes can play games of chance. They can hit the lottery occasionally. They can win all types of sweepstakes. If not a car, kitchen utensils, you name it. New clothes. Win a trip. Threes got the knack of doing that. They can prosper amid winning or losing all at once. I've seen some threes do that. Go to a casino with two, $3,000, $4,000, or $500, and crank it up to 4 or 5,000. Stay in there too long and lose it all. But they were smart. They didn't take all the money out the bank. They had enough to stay in a hotel, neighboring hotel in Atlantic City, or to be able to get back home or have a meal, go by themselves or go with others. Three likes to have a good time. One of the many traits is that the number three suggests a person to remain active and socialize as being aware, as well as being aware of information received in different ways and how that information can impact one's life and environment. So, what does that mean? Three will watch the news, and because they're watching the news, they're not becoming overwhelmed by the news. What the three is doing is picking what's necessary. What did they get out of the news? After they heard it once or twice, what did they get out of it? What did they might say, oh, I'm going to go investigate myself. I'm going to do the research myself. I'm going to make sure that what they're saying is correct and not just cooking up any old thing. That's the nature of a three. The three, though, loves the best types of food, cuisines. Three will eat all kind of foods from every culture because they want to experience the culture through food. So three does what? Loves to travel. Three may learn more than one language and speak it fluently. Most of all, it reminds us to speak the language of life itself. Usually, the three enjoys being charismatic, comical. They can be the best comedian in your house, creative to share its world with others. As it advances through the journey of life, it is truly a reminder, this is the number three, that we consciously live as a free spirit. So you got to know number three, they're not going to be tied down. They might be involved in a relationship, but not too long. If they are, the partner has to give them a little free reign so they don't feel like they're locked in or tied up too much. Affirmation of the three. I am the third layer of consciousness and called by many conscientious, creative, comical, and the one who seeks the spice of life itself. Three is not looking to be bored. I move about from one experience to another, just as a bee seeks and finds the nectar from flower to flower. This is the organic spiritual nature of three. I come to remind you, three is pointing at you as one, to seek and gather your reflection, symbolically the number two. And I become free to live your life with sweetness, like me, the number three. Numbers talking all the time. Yep, yeah, that's you, Capricorn three. The number four, spirit of the four. Four is the one who does the opposite of what other folks think they are to be. Now, I'll show you who the four is, not just a single digit four. Now, this means the birth date number four. This person is very methodical, intelligent, and a genius. The four enjoys science and math, can be analytical when necessary. This person, as the four, strives to have more structure, simplicity, and enjoys being practical or orderly. Sometimes, when disorder is around them, they can be abrupt because everything appears to be chaotic. Now, it doesn't mean it's chaotic all the time. They just have a lot of things going on. They're analyzing and observing life and people and situations all the time. Sometimes brashness or being cutthroat can occur under this number. I've experienced it. Aries 4 will cut your throat. Scorpio 4 will cut you down, step on your neck, and keep going. Leo 4s will do that too. It happens. Libra air sign 4s will do it, but not all the time. Sometimes they are deep rooted thoughts that are always with the 4s thinking really deep. You might look at them and think they're flighty. No, they're like really deep in some research or life itself or life's experience. They're really looking into it. An old soul by nature. This is the 4. The 4 is an old soul by nature, just like the 7s and the 8s. So you come up and meet a person born on the 4th, the 13th, the 22nd, and the 31st. These are the number 4s. They're deep rooted thinking individuals. Nothing escapes them. Now, people from the outside that try to observe them and don't understand that miss them altogether. The best people that understand 4s are not just 1s, not just 2s, 7s. You know why? 4 times 4 is 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. 8s understand a 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. So 4, 7, and 8s, they understand each other. They don't have a problem with it. They really, really get along. Here's something else. It represents divine order. This is the nature of the 4. Represents divine order, but can be disorganized during a thought process. That doesn't mean that they're always that way. It's just a thought process means they can be interrupted or sidetracked for a moment. Chaos will burst out of an intense, explosive, unpredictable situation. It almost seems like this number can have a person thriving off events that are sporadic and unstable. But the number 4 will express an inventive mind, having uncanny, listen, 4 has uncanny accuracy. Uncanny accuracy means dead on point, like a marksman with their energy, and often able to land upright after everything else was turned upside down. So they can go, 4s can go through some stuff. They could be the cat that got thrown off the balcony, flips itself over last minute, and lands and hangs onto a tree, and it comes out the side of the building like, I'm still here. Structure, order, and being able to work with foundations and basic ideas is important, which helps contains one's thinking. So I can say 4 can be in a chaotic situation and break it all the way down to its foundation and start. It may appear to start over, but not really. They're starting from where they left off from. So this is why they're good at thinking. They keep life in order and they avoid confusion. So once a 4 is thrown into chaos, once they come out of the chaos, they have order. This number shows its own type of strength, as it affords many with a strong willed personality and equally a strong mind. Many times I have witnessed this type of person make what appears to be the wrong decision, but eventually works out being correct only because the person was aware of a hidden fact or trait that later benefited them. You meet up with the number four, they are enlightened. Often, the number four person does not appear to be in touch with the nature or reality of anything. Yet, they are somehow dialing in, which means they dial in on a higher frequency that the average person is unaware that they're doing, on what is happening around them in the present moment. It means they're great at recording information. Person born on such a number as the four is quite the observer of people, places, and events that occur in very subtle ways. This means the person might pay attention to something that the average person may not even consider noticing. In other words, the four can be analytical like the number one and seek what appears to be logical. The four can be somewhat emotionally sensitive like the two, as it seeks out harmony and peace, along with a desire to see details. The four can be like the number three, which is equally emotional, artistic, and creative. So that means four has these different qualities like ones, twos, and threes, you see. However, the four will see something not usually considered to be normal or working properly. The four sees what is immediately different. This means that the four will pick at what is behind the scenes, what is under the surface, and see the meaning there that is just as important. Four is a bright people. Here's the affirmation: I am the fourth layer of consciousness. And I remember that during deep thought, I must realize it is in my best nature to be the delicate balancing point between chaos and order. That means fours can walk the tightrope. I can stand alone like the one, find my other half to reflect upon, which is the two. I am creative, playful, while seeking the nectar of life, for I am like the three. See, four has the qualities before it. I have decided to make a strong foundation while seemingly being different. I am simplicity at its best. I am the door to a new world. So just call me the four. Spirit is talking through the number, right? Thank you with the hearts. Well, here's the number five. Five sits in the middle from one through four, then six, seven, eight, nine. Four numbers on the other side. Five is in the middle. Five does things that are both easy, difficult, quick, as well as huge, lovers of speed. I used to have a friend that drove a little car that was like a Fiat back on Long Island. And he'd be coming off the parkway, hanging those turns, and I'd be scared to death. It's like, he said, "You all right?" I said, "I don't know. I just hope you're all right. Know what you're doing." He had good control. I would never go on the racetrack with him, though. So fives love speed. They move fast, they talk fast, they walk fast, they think fast. They can deal with the easy and the difficult. Sometimes, like the three, the five is a bundle of nerves and does a great deal of thinking about the overall puzzle piece in order to see the end. Always acting younger than their age and youthful in appearance. Quick and curious mind with an ability to have mental agility. Some are into sports, solo or team, and able to make adjustments and adapt to people and environments with ease. So that you know this, what is the five if you're looking at birthday numbers? The five is anyone born on the 5th, anyone born on the 14th, 1 plus 4 is 5, and anyone born on the number 23, 2 plus 3 is 5. That's the nature of 5. This number suggests one has good memory for faces, places, and facts. but highly restless and sometimes very unsettling, which means that conclusions can come fast without thorough researching of the background facts, leading to false analysis. However, if you have this number, 5, be careful that you do not speak out of turn or even speak before you have all the facts and orders. So most fives don't speak out of turn. This is suggesting if you do, you must be the immature 5 personality. But most fives don't speak out of turn. Those with this base number are prone to change their mind often due to overanalyzing concepts. The base number 5 itself. The mind of a 5 is such that it weighs everything by looking at every detail and adapts accordingly. Communication is key, and one can be quite accurate or great with words, like the number 3. If you have this number, meaning the 5, or know someone who has it, be aware that the 5 accesses information fast. That means if there's any 5s in here, they're hearing me, but like a computer, getting it quickly, but may skip a step before releasing it swiftly. In other words, doesn't I should say it better. It's not the 5 is not skipping steps. It just brings out the most important detailed information. So it may take some that's sub detailed, sub important, and puts the most important thing in front of you. 5 loves to travel extensively when they have everything in order. Like the threes, they share that. An investigative mind is the number 5, and the heart of a forensic researcher, like forensic, medical, or criminal. Get right to the point, trace down everything. This number loves to be amid activity until they run themselves out of energy. So 5 has to pace themselves. That's important. It is important that a person pays attention to boundaries and respects the privacy of others, and for people to respect their boundaries as well. So 5 doesn't set up a wall. Just 5 puts energetically a wall out there so you know it's there. You'll run into it sooner or later. You feel like, what's that? The 5 put the energy out. You know, stay on the other side of the desk. It's good enough. You don't have to be all in my space. Always very attracted to many partners or those who love with high energy and equally good looks. So you see a number 5 person, they do not look like their age on paper. They always look younger. Even when they get older, they still have the vitality of that age bracket that they're in with the gray hairs, 10 years younger, 20 years younger. Nature of the 5 carrying a lot of spirit. So they'll look younger. They are good at creating lots of action and quickly reminds people to mind your business. That's nature of the 5. That's what I like about 5 people. If they're dealing with people who are in their space all the time, they will tell them right away, mind your business. This number, like the 3, will share information, known facts, like the number 4. The 5 will share some obscure information, meaning something that's way distant that most people may not think about. 5 can pull it up. So they make great researchers. The number 5 will experience and enjoy formal and informal educational experiences. It makes excellent teachers. The 5 person loves a good debate and fair competition, as it is known. Now, younger, immature 5s are known to cheat, but most 5s with fair competition, they don't cheat. They play the game right and will beat you at the game when it's played right. Sometimes because they think fast, you might think they are cheating in your presence, but no, they're just looking at whole board. If you're playing chess with a number 5 that knows how to play chess, they'll move everything on that board strategically, and you will miss it. And then Next thing you know, they capture your knights and your horses and your rooks and your bishops. And next thing you know, they took care of your king, and you find yourself checkmate. Fives are good chess players. One thing about the five that it gets along with everyone. Up to that point, five is like everybody else. Here's the affirmation of the number five. You got the chills, huh? The number five. I am the fifth layer of consciousness who reminds you to position yourself to adapt to different conditions. Make the necessary adjustments and be prepared to share your truths about this journey called life. So, fives, like fours, see many things. Fours and fives have the commonality. They will see something that seems out of the ordinary that others will not see or ever experience, and they will get the information on it and be able to explain it in detail to you. So it's good to have fours around you and fives around you as well. They can adapt to different situations and make the necessary adjustments. Now that I know what it's like to be the one with standards, number one creates a standard. The number two has its reflections. The number three loves to be creative and carefree. The number four is here to create a sturdy foundation with simplicity. It is time to come alive, as I am always named the five. Five is like one, two, three, and four. So here's the six. The six is a number that symbolizes great morals and ethics. Its principles are taught in each household. This person has a beautiful personality, loving nature, which can be seen in their attire, the way they dress, their home, the way they live in their home, the way it's colorful and harmony. You know, I remember, you probably remember this too, growing up, those of us might be a little older, that your parents would have in their home, throughout the home, right down to bed sheets and curtains, a winter theme, then a spring theme when springtime came, then a summer theme when summertime came, then an autumn theme when autumn season was in play. Some people did it through their furniture, covers, sheets on the bed, on the couches. Other people did it with plates or put up different pictures in their house that represent the season, summer season, photographs or paintings. But it was a unique thing. That way you know the season was different. It's like the nature of a six doing that, painting a picture. The person has the personality, the love of nature, the attire. When they have you be their guest, they take very good care of you. They make sure you have everything. Now, sixes can be the clean freaks. So you go to their house, they're gonna have them little booties for your feet. You're not gonna walk through their house with shoes. They're gonna make sure you're comfortable, so they'll have some slippers. Again, those little things you can wear over your shoes if you don't want to take them off. But they want you to be comfortable. But they're clean freaks, so they don't want any tracks of dirt in their house. That's why they do that. They love a home life and they have a good one. Their family is important to them. You might find a family that has mom and dad, both grandparents, or one grandparent living with them, siblings, and the fur babies. Everybody's there because they want a full family unit, you see. And some cultures, some societies, that was always good. You didn't let the seniors live off by themselves. You loved having the wisdom from the seniors, the elders. So that's why it was like that. And that's still prevalent today in a lot of communities. People don't let the grandparents live off by themselves. They enjoy the grandparents down the block or in the mother and daughter home. They want everybody to learn from the elders. Now, the only downside to this number that it expresses a person who has a deep desire to control others. The controllers are people born on the number 24. They like to control everybody. Or if it's united under the sign of Capricorn or Aries, sometimes you'll see it there. Leos, you'll see it there strongly. Libras, you'll see it there. And sometimes Scorpio, you'll see it in there. They have to control everything that's under the roof. I think sometimes that has to do with not having people question who they are. They mean well by it, but sometimes it can be quite a nuisance. And when they're trying to control everybody, what happens is that uh, that energy becomes so much that the unkind side of them comes out. And it's not provoked by people outside of themselves. When they're trying to control everybody, that means they lack the power of self control. So when they control everybody, you can't see them losing the battle with themselves because they're too busy being manipulative. The person does not realize that this is being judgmental and cruel at times, but he strives to offer a part of himself to those who are seekers of justice, balance, and harmony. Sometimes giving too much love can drown others, hamper them, or create emptiness on both sides of the fence. I've seen some parents do that. And again, I've seen it with 24s. They're a helicopter mom and dad. Kid can't breathe. So the kid doesn't go out. Kid stays to themselves. Or sometimes goes out and hurts everybody, living on both sides of the fence. Go out in the world, be the bully, come home, be the subject or the victim. It's rough. Sometimes here, the number six does not get their way with others. That means other people wake up and go, last time you did that to me, this happened. I lost a good friend. I lost an older friend. I lost some younger friends. Lost my job because you got me under your thumb. So people recognize the mood swings with a six. The true essence of this number, though, is beauty and harmony, coupled with self love. This is the true essence of the six. Also, being creative, fun loving, and compassionate, this person will have you feeling comfortable around them. So, like the threes, the six throws a good party, a great cookout at a park, or they can do well at a wedding reception or family reunion, high school reunion. They know how to pull it off. The number six person is a caregiver that seeks love and gives love as well. That's what they really are trying to do. They just don't realize that they're overwhelming. Yes, six is Venus. What was the other number? Four is Uranus. Three is Jupiter. Five is Mercury. Six is Venus. So they're the caregiver. Anyone who has it must nurture themselves first with self love and unconditional love. So, in other words, the number six must plant that seed of unconditional love and self love deeply into themselves. So it what? It festers in the subconscious mind, then their life, then their heart. The six must be able to heal itself, but usually relies on other people to heal them. And that's where the friction is. Because if they don't think the other person's healing them, then they stop showing unconditional love, and that's not what they're supposed to do. Even if the other person's not reciprocating it, they can learn and don't overdo it. but they still have to work on themselves. As an artistic vein runs through them strongly, makes the wearer give makes the wearer quite a decorative person. So number six will have their houses looking like a museum. Never fail. Tourists will do it a little bit, especially if they love to cook. Every time you come inside a tourist six house, you're gonna smell cuisines. You go in a Libra Venus six house, you're just gonna find nice and neatness there. You're not gonna find too much about the food. They'll probably have a lot of literature in their house. Okay. At this times, they have balance and moderation are needed so that the entire body, mind, spirit matrix, womb essence of them is healthy. They got to balance the body, mind, and spirit. One can't be out of order. Just like the even numbers 2, 4, and 8, this number 6 enjoys being with others more than living alone. 6 will not live by itself too long. They have to find a partner or they don't do well, which basically means they don't like looking at their own faults. So sometimes they want to look at someone else's, so they seek a partner. The personality thrives best with being in touch with others like a family or a life partner or good friend rather than be alone. So if the six has to be by themselves, can't find a relationship, foster good friendships. That's important. Stay in touch with family. Just like the number five person, the number six person is attractive, dresses well, clean cut, and knows how to present even their best side when taking photos. Number six are the models. They know how to model people. So they'll show you their best side every time. You won't see the ugly side unless you catch them off guard. They are the lovers of culture. This is number six. Lovers of culture, food, art, music, and anything that breeds beauty. You can go into their home and see crystals in the right location. Even if they don't know anything about crystals, they'll put it in the right place. They'll hang the photos just right. They'll put the furniture just right. Number six is attracted to others and will find that many are attracted to them as well. Why? Because they show you the good side all the time. You never see the six show. You rarely catch the six in a down moment unless you're around them for a long period of time. Then you see the rhythm change because you see them not being in control. Like I said, they can be very bossy. This person six is like the number three, a gracious host, hosts at large and small, intimate events. The six can become very parental, protective, or overloved ones. Again, the helicopter mom or dad, without realizing it. Though that's the thing. So they want to protect that son or daughter, but they don't realize they're doing too much after a certain point. They are possessive and controlling and will literally smother another person with affection. But that's only because they don't love themselves or they have to have an attachment. That's what happens. The six must respect the spaces and lives of others. This number is the seeker of justice, but must learn that justice is a two-way street. So they can't go around, you got to do it this way, you got to do it my way, without understanding that what their words are saying can come back and cut themselves. So they must learn how to cultivate a better life through the principle of love, master themselves, then they can attract into their lives and maintain and cultivate unconditional love. The affirmation of the number six. The heat is hot in here. I thought my fan was working. I'm dealing. Let me drink a little water first. Okay. Affirmation of the number six. I am the sixth layer of consciousness, and I remind you to love yourself first. See, that's important. If the six is bossing a lot of people around, they don't love themselves. If they're giving people a hard way to go, they don't love themselves. If they're trying to control everybody in a relationship or thinking that other people aren't who they don't love themselves. So it says, be grateful for who you are and what you have. It's important for the six not to gloat about their success, not to gloat about their money, not to gloat their accumulation of money or real estate, not to gloat about anything. Why? Even in the biblical sense, I don't know the exact chapter or verse, but in the biblical sense, person who has too much can lose it all in an hour. I mean, someone could break in your house and steal everything. Why? Because the six is glorifying the physical, showing off, boasting, making other people feel small. So eventually the word gets out and the house gets broken into. And all of that good old stuff is gone. Got to start all over. So what do they have to learn? Always respect another person's boundaries. Have come from, so this is what the six is saying. I have come from the zero with infinite treasures of being just, balance, harmony, and love. Remember, we are all one family, and that each one of us is the sweetness of life itself, just like the three was saying. The three was saying the spice of life, the variety of life. Six saying now the whole sweetness of life. I am called the six. So now we have seven, eight, and nine. It's going to be quite interesting. Seven fits into the old soul essence like the fours and eights. The seven is mystical, magical, and philosophical by nature. Sometimes you'll catch a seven that has all three. Sometimes you'll catch them with the philosophical side. Some you'll catch them in the fields of magic. Some they're just mystical, like being a shaman or a healer, medicine person. It is the seven is the one person who analyzes everything and backs it up with not just facts from research, but first and foremost with their psychic side, deep rooted feelings, and intuitive traits. See, so the seven knows it, they just don't brag about it. Just as much as they enjoy small and large crowds, this is the seven, they are the loners by nature. That means they can go to some big old concert, and if they didn't stay there for the entire concert or night festival or street festival, they'll go home. They've had their fill. Why? They will have run into someone that they have not seen in a while, and those people will hang out together. Seven don't need the crowd. Sevens can sit home and turn their house into a movie theater and watch several movies back to back till they fall asleep. The TV's watching them. That's how cool the sevens can get. But here's something else we need to know. Often drawn to helping others spiritually and materialistically, this number in general never asks for anything in return. So if you meet a number seven, that means somebody born on the 7th, the 16th, or the 25th of any sign. Nine times out of 10, they're not going to ask you for anything because they feel that they're supposed to already have it within themselves to manifest it. Rarely will they ask you something. The number seven is a feeler who can be highly sensitive even when their silence becomes disturbed. So that means the sevens by themselves, seven can tell when others are tuning in. They may not catch your name, they may not catch your face, but they know somebody's tuning into them. They know somebody's talking about them. Their ears are itching. Somebody's talking about them. Their eyes are itching. Somebody's observing them. The eyes and the back is itching. That means someone is sneaking around corners observing them. Hands itching. They sense I might come into some money or something that represents money. It's going to happen. Music and Mother Nature soothes their souls along with a good book. Known to respect others well and be very loyal in relationships. When sevens are dating or sevens are married, they don't cheat. Their partner may cheat, but not them. Why? Because when they get into a relationship, they expect to be in it for a long time. The only thing with a seven, though, they may have to announce when they want to be quiet. The partner may not understand that. The seven's got to be in the other side of the house by themselves. Go out for a walk. Doesn't mean that the seven is angry. They just need space. But sometimes they need to announce it. That way, their partners don't get upset with them. Here's something else about them. You will often find them developing themselves spiritually while working on self mastery. So if you meet a seven, they have temper tantrums or bad habits. They're going to work on them. They're not going to just leave them unexposed. They're really trying to work on themselves. They're sensitive to people, places, and other types of energy. Can make a seven very picky with friends. And their circle of friends, which are many, see, like the like the fours, right? People may look at the four and say, "Ah, they're strange." They see the seven, oh, they're even stranger. But they don't understand. Fours and sevens have some very unique circles of friends. Many. So you might see them alone, but they have a unique circle of friends. And they may overlap by one or two people. But then there's distinctive groups that they have a connection with. Here, the circle of friends are bright, eccentric like themselves, which they share with fours and eights, the sevens. The fours, seven, and eights are what I call the old soul trilogy. This is the group. You get fours, seven, and eights. Each one of them will see something different about whatever their journey is, whatever they're doing for the day. One of them will pick up something and be able to relate it to the others, and everybody will have a good time. The seven sometimes enjoys books and movies that have a scientific and fantasy bent to them, but carries a theme that speaks to all people. This number can attract martyrdom, meaning I'm the victim and something's going to happen. I carry like the Christ energy, somebody's going to come after me. They can carry that vibe. The number can attract hidden secrets, things that people have never seen before, and all of a sudden it's in their lap. Sevens must protect themselves from triangular relationships, meaning they got two friends who are having a difficult time with each other and they know the seven. So, what they want the seven to do is take sides. That is the most difficult partnership to maintain. They're the third wheel in that relationship. Somebody's going to try to draw them to their side and not on the other person's side. So if you know people like that, you got to be right in the middle, not the wall between them, but the one that's very grounded. I know I've been in them. They don't work. They don't work. If they call you, make sure you're in your own location. Make sure they don't come to you with their issues. Sevens attract wild dreams, crazy dreams, lucid dreams. They attract the vibration to walk into other realms and see otherworldly beings and not blink an eye. In other words, you should look up it's not a folklore. It was called, I think it was done by Rudyard Kipling, Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. Ali Baba was a thief, had 40 thieves. They would ransack palaces. And one day they came across a prince or a king, right? And the king wanted to know about the all seeing eye. So they went into the cave, and there was the prince or king that grew up with so much wealth, but scared of life. So everything that popped up was scared as prince or king. But Ali Baba the thug, he laughed at everything along the path. And he was to get the all seeing eye. I mean, his third eye opened and he saw the world as he should see it. Meanwhile, the prince or the king that had everything couldn't understand how he get the all seeing eye. Because he wasn't afraid to laugh at himself. He afraid he had some fears. He knew he had some doubts, but he knew he had to keep going for this to open. So, number seven will see the unworldly things, things from across the veil. It may not necessarily blink. They blink in the beginning, but that second time, seven is not blinking. It said, "Come on, let me see you." The otherworldly realm is their other home. I know. I'm always looking for it. I'm a number seven. As they feel more understood than in the physical world. I mean, seven is like fours and like eights go through a whole lot of crap. Four, seven, and eight people have seen a lot of stuff, man. But they know that the other world is listening. The other world beyond the realms are watching over them. This number seven enjoys a good meal, but will consume foods from other cultures. I mean, a good American meal is tasty. I've been in the Southwest. I'm exposed to a lot of stuff. And I like going to different places because I like different cuisines. I like gourmet meals and I like a regular old American meal. Seven enjoys research, sometimes has a weird sense of humor. Now, the reason for that is if you've been to my meditation classes, I tell corny jokes. The corny joke is designed to make you laugh, to get the pressure of stress off your mind and off your heart. If I can get you to laugh, your foot's in the door for meditation. Now I can get you to do the rest every day. Laugh at something, watch comedy, releases you, helps you to be open. That's important. So, sevens have a weird sense of humor, understand energy on a deeper level than most. This is why the study of Tai Chi and yoga and philosophy is important for number seven. Even going for long walks, being in nature. They don't have to swim in some great ocean, they just need to see a trickle of water. It's enough. Go to a museum, helpful. See? Always striving to know more about the intricacies of life and how all of life is what? Organic, intelligent, and magical. The number seven is always in touch with anything that points back to the spiritual and metaphysical realm. For the seven, this is the point of all life and its origin. Seven remains sober with truth in the face of illusions. Others might see them as being lazy, but the number seven is in deep thought, meditation, and feeling out others, feeling out their surroundings, checking in with Mother Nature and distant galaxies. This number internalizes their thoughts and feelings as a loner. Silence is their coffee, tea, and smoothie for their soul. Silence. The sevens get more work done from within their heart and mind regions. They get more work done from within the heart. Just like fours, eights, and sevens, they're very authentic people. Fours, seven, and eights are not pretending to be somebody else. They're themselves. The highest nature of the seven will understand the situation, learn from it, and then keep raising their personal vibration to transcend lower vibrations. By this time, The seven is working on its shadow side and striving to heal itself from the past, from old storylines, and free itself from the mundane mentality so it can return to where its true nature, that which is divine. To do this, the seven seeks to retreat. Doesn't mean that the seven has to go on a retreat. Sometimes it'll go to a different town, a different city, or different part of the city. It's still getting a retreat. Resorts to self study, always reading about itself, always studying different applications, healing techniques, sound techniques. Seven will do some painting and drawing if it needs to play a musical instrument. It's all healing. Why? To return to the divine. To do this, the seven seeks to retreat, resorts to self study, and commune deeply with the divine presence, the I am presence found in itself. So here's the affirmation: I am the seventh layer of consciousness and true remembrance. I am you, and we are one. We reflect all to become one again. I am creative, free spirited, youthful, and simple. I am eccentric, sage like, and magical like you. I love life here and yet dwell in the remembrance of the galaxies shining brightly above our heads. I am a rainbow guiding you through the corridors of infinity beyond heavens, for I am seven. Ooh, who does that remind you of? I don't know. I try to write it without writing about myself. But I have many people that I know who are sevens and 16s and so forth. Here's the number eight, spirit of the eight. The eight is connected to the old soul numbers fours and sevens. This number is powerful as an authority figure and one who sees the larger picture in any issues set before them. This is the number eight. This is important. Organization skills are a natural part of the eight, and they find ways to manage time, energy, and money as well. The eight has a knack for owning a business, and like the three, can run small to large ones. This person stands up for those who cannot do it for themselves. So the number eight, 8, 17, or 26, these are the people who will not let others become bullied by others. They will not let the loner stand too much by themselves. So that eight will do whatever they can to bolster up someone's internal strength and mental strength. The eight has the knack of doing this. They learn well from elders and experts, learn to get along with everyone. Eight can take care of itself for better health and greater sense of rest. They always are doing that. Eight should be kind to itself as well. Like the fours and sevens, the eight must be careful not to ingest or indulge in drugs and alcoholic beverages as they will become addicted. That doesn't mean, at the time when I wrote this, I knew a lot of people who were, but I've seen a lot of people's energy shift because we're getting more, uh, we have more transformation in a positive way. So I now can see people loving themselves more, taking care of themselves on different levels, or asking for help so that they can get better, so they don't become addicted. Four, seven, eights aren't addicted. They go through, they may experience, but they don't have the cravings. And they remember what the substance has done to them. This number eight is more likely to be practical and remains connected to the earth realm. Sometimes having this number means that a person can be too grounded and overwhelmed by energy, especially when the energy is very fiery in temperament. So that means if they come under the sign Leo, Aries, or Sag, they're going to experience that to be out of balance. This number suggests that a person like the fours and sevens become easily bored and so must learn how to be active but centered. There's a tendency to go to extremes. This is the number eight. Become scattered and then be out of balance with oneself and others. This suggests that the eight must have a place to be secure and develop its life to be seen in their world of creation. The number eight is the carrier of wisdom, truth, and philosophy from ancient to modern times. The energy of this number causes one to represent those who are unable to defend themselves. Eights like a good fight, but they will fight for the people who can't fight for themselves. This is say they make good negotiators, contract negotiators. They make good lawyers and judges, or social activists. Eights are good for social activists. We may find such a person seeking contractual arrangements that can bring forth abundance and prosperity. So it means they're negotiators when it comes to business, high volumes of business, or something that they see that can be turned up a notch and make money. This type of number suggests that people who carry it are the caretakers and stewards of the earth, as they are known to preserve all that is historically and traditionally important. That's what they need in the White House. They need somebody who understands that so people aren't tearing up the foundation of things. They handle those areas of investments along the lines of finances, family values, and traditions like celebrations, the ability to govern one's own affairs while becoming the experts in their chosen fields, which can be law, the arts, and business, to name a few. They should avoid bragging, being preachy, and bossy. Eight loves a family life and will strive to create a legacy long before they transition from the earth plane. So you see an eight and they're working all the time, that's what they're working up to. They want to take care of the people in their lives. The eight person loves to gather and maintain memories in photo albums, collectibles such as old stamps, pneumatics, which is coins, comic books, record albums, films, clothing, jewelry, period furniture, art, musical instruments, books, family trees, and recipes, old games from childhood, antiques, and other forms of memorabilia. you know, things you want to collect, like the World Series or World Cups, those kind of things. Super Bowl. Affirmations of the number eight. I am the eighth layer of consciousness. As I have stated all my reasons for being here, like you, and endeavor to remind you that I reside from the infinite well of Mother's matrix called the womb. That's the zero. I am often called the lumiscit, the figure eight upon its side, horizontal in nature. The lumiscit. Turn it up. Number eight. I am like two eyes gazing upon you, and two circles tangent to each other that will sometimes overlap just enough to create space for a single eye. Well, two circles come together, that's a. I personify a coined phrase: as above, so below. As above, so below. And can walk upon the earthly plane with an even gait, stretched stride. I am the number eight. And now we're coming to the last one. Been at it a while. Wow, 3 hours. Whew. Nine. Nine is the natural warrior and yet a good humanitarian, for it symbolizes all of the numbers 1 to 8. That means 1 plus 8 is a 9. 2 plus 7 is a 9. 3 plus 6 is a 9. 4 plus 5 is a 9. All the qualities of the 9 are all the numbers before it. The 9 person stands their ground, so do not pick on them, and make sure you have your points in order, as they will take on your challenge with facts. This person can be quite competitive and very smart as they think of life like it is a chess game. Since it represents all the other numbers from 1 to 8, it tends to be a leader, well organized and enthusiastic about life and how to live it thoroughly. The 9 personality portrays the ambassador and the teacher's teacher, but is the warrior as well. 9 remembers how to return to being a student to gain power, force, and resilience. Now, that's provided they don't have a big head. They got a big head all over the place. They're not going to be able to gain power or force or resilience because they're going to be working from ego. It moves out of stagnation toward a place, quote unquote, where it can experience what is known as living one's life with infinite measures. Just like the other odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, and 7, it is independent of others, therefore becomes self sufficient. The 9 learns to become a leader or has the drive to be a leader naturally. The 9 learns to become that leader. I'll say it again, or has the drive to be a leader naturally. The 9 has it inwardly and knows it, and usually the person who carries greater responsibilities. But the 9 needs to share the spotlight. That means the person born on the 9th, 18th, or the 27th must learn to share the spotlight. The duties and obligations, they must learn to trust the others. Sometimes they can't. Why? Because like a 6, they got a lockdown, they got to control it. Often 9 can have trust issues, like a 6. The 9 person will continue to observe you and may give you free reign, but then yank it away because either person proves to be not trustworthy or fails to live up to the standard laid out and established by the number 9. The 9 finishes a task alone, but should not complain or even brag about what happened. Sometimes the 9 says, I, me, and never says we. That's why. The 9 person may have a bad temper and will internalize, then implode, or display it by exploding on others. What the 9 must do is show humility and live that principle as well. Just not show it, become humility. Then they will see change happen with ease around them and within their circles. The number 9 person does not worry to become the chess master in life, but plays the game of life well enough to share the platform with everyone. Remember, the 9 is the combination of other numbers: 1 plus 8, 2 plus 7, 3 plus 6, 4 plus 5. Therefore, it understands these numbers. It must avoid and overcome being a braggart, moody, angry, ticked off, tyrannical, egotistical, manipulative, controlling, and an intention seeker. Those are all the things the 9 has to not be. And 9 will be prone to becoming burnt out because it chooses to do too many things. Again, trust issues. All numbers 1 to 9 are birthed and returned to the gateway of the cipher, 0, the womb, the matrix, which makes them reflections and facets of the 0 by nature. So, spirit affirmation for the number nine. I am the ninth layer of consciousness and remembrance. I have shared with you all my aspects from 1 to 8, including my highs and lows. I reach for the impossible. This is a phrase that I came up with way, way back in the 80s about the nine. I reached for the impossible so that I could attain all that is possible. That means the nine has to be willing to fail in order to get what it wants. I am called nine. All right. Hope you like that. Hope it did some wonders for you. If you have my book, The Key to Life is Numerology, that fell on chapter. That was on chapter 30 something, something like that. But I'm quite sure that was what we were doing. Meaning of the root numbers 0 to 9. That was chapter 3. It started on page 26 and ended on page 42. A lot of information there. So, any questions about what I just done did? Thank you. That's all a part of the book. I wanted to include as much information. I wanted the book to be like a manual. Someone told me, why didn't I leave some information out and treat it like a workbook? Well, the reason for that is the whole book is a workbook. If you take your time and go from chapter to chapter, you'll see that it is a workbook. Nothing's really left out. It gives you enough information to work with. See, many people want advanced things, and advanced things are great, but advanced is based off of what? Foundation. If you can work the foundation enough times, you become better at it each and every time. Bruce Lee used to say, a black belt is only good for holding up your trousers. He also used to say, why practice 1,000 techniques and not have a strong foundation, a strong base, a strong understanding? Practice one technique 1,000 times, and you will see something new every time you use the technique. Why? You'll learn something about your foundation. It's not strong enough. You'll learn that your bones and muscles and tendons aren't flexible, and the bones are too brittle. You learn about the spirit, the heart of the person. Are they afraid to employ what they learn, or do they hold it to themselves? Are they being self centered? All these things are there. That's what he was talking about. In the movie Enter the Dragon, there's a part where he's walking through the park and he meets a student, right? And he's talking about the moon. And the student's looking too much at the moon and misses themselves. They miss the point. So we have to observe things properly. And we have to give ourselves time to understand what we're working with. That's why numerology can be this ongoing study tool. People study cardology on study tool. People study astrology. People study palmistry ongoing. You know, they say with palmistry, the first things I learned about it, and I don't consider myself a great palmist. I've got all kind of books that deal with the lines and what they mean on different levels. But here's the thing. We have two hands, and both hands will always be slightly different. The hand that you were born with will show the map. The other hand shows you what you're doing with the map. Very, very precise, very unique. So it's important. Maybe the next time I'll bring this book out of my library that talks about palmistry and the lines and the fingers and what they mean on a completely different level than the regular standard palmistry. I think that book talks about the shape of your hand, your entire hand, all your fingers, how they're laid out. All these things are important. Everything is important. Every science can be rectified, can be studied through yourself. It's all based on the self. All of these sciences. There's nothing that's not based on us. So, woohoo! I've been on 3 hours, 14 minutes. That's a long time. Three plus one plus four, that's eight. So, what should I do? It's 10:46 p.m. Maybe I'll sign out, get some more water, drink some burdock tea, and call it a night. I want to thank all of you for being on. Barbara Ewing, 5761, thank you so much. Lauren, 2897, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. King Lemuel Productions, thank you so much. We also had in here, I know that I saw her. I saw, there he is, Rose Jefferson was in here. Oh, and the very first person that came through that jumped on was at JJB7642. Thank you for being on. I'm glad I came on tonight so that everybody could get this information. Next time I'll put something from one of my other books so that you can get that information as well. If you have any questions, you can email me at iam.circle of grace with the number one at the end at gmail.com. Okay, you can check me that way. Also, I'm not going to put my phone number up. If you're on Facebook, you can track me. I have a link tree. So you can, if you look in the description, you'll see it there, but I'll put it here. In fact, I haven't been on a fan page in over a month or two, and I owe some numerology materials, short 2 minute videos on numerology. So I need to go back and put that there. But I have my link tree page. And if you go there, you'll get substantial information about what I'm hanging out and doing. Yeah, linktree/iam.circle of grace. I also do podcasts. I have a podcast I got to go do for rss.com. You can go hear some of the previous ones that I have there already. So thank you everybody for popping on. The other individuals that were here, thank you very much. Um, I don't know when I'm going to be back on Lloyd's. He's been pretty busy. I've been pretty busy. Age 74, I'm trying to slow it down a little bit and just relax more. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. As I say, I am a random podcaster. So let everybody else know that this is here and we went live, but they'll see it here in its recording mode. And I always say, remember that divine grace is a blessing, as we are alive and well in the age of remembrance. So take care, everyone. See you real soon. Happy trails to you until we meet again. All right. Bye, everybody. Yeah, some hundreds. Add some hearts. And now we're going to end the stream. 319.